Interested parties will be given an opportunity to be heard. Application number 650-23. And when you hear your name, would you just please come up to the podium and tell us your name and address. John Siegel. Permission to leave roofed over patio resulting in floor area ratio of 29.8% instead of permitted 25%, and shed having side yard of 1.8 feet and having 18 feet behind the front line of the dwelling instead of required 20. Residence B District, northwest corner of Ford Street and Coates Avenue, Holbrook.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. John Siegel, 217.
Pick up the microphone, please.
I'm sorry. John Siegel, 217 Ford Street, Holbrook, New York.
Thank you. Mr. Siegel, you just here for the roofed over patio and the shed?
Yes, sir.
Any questions from the board on this?
None from the board.
Planning, any comment? Is there anyone else that would like to be heard on this application?
Make a motion, we approve the application.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
The next, once I get formal notification, I can go down to permitting.
I'm sorry?
Once I get formal notification, I go down to permitting and it goes on the
Yes, you get a
CFO.
decision in the mail in about 1 week, and you take that to the building department.
Great, thank you.
Application number 651-23. Abigail and Eric Neugebauer, permission to leave portico having front yard of 15.6 feet instead of required 50 feet. Residence AAA District, southeast corner of Hamilton Street and River Road, Sayville.
Eric Neugebauer, 70 Hamilton Street, Sayville.
Sir, the size of the portico is 3 feet by 10 feet roughly.
Roughly.
Any questions from planning? I mean, from the board on this?
No. Chairman.
Planning, you have any comments? Anyone else would like to be heard on this application? All right, let's take a motion.
Sagal.
I'll make a motion to grant the Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
Thank you.
Application number 652-23, John and Anne Marie Campagna, permission to leave pool patio having side yard of 4.9 feet and rear yard of 5.3 feet instead of required 6 feet each. Residence A District, south side of Portside Drive, 151.69 feet west of Grundy Avenue, Holbrook.
Hi. Tracy Rivera, Tracy's Permits, 363 Terryville Road, Terryville, New York. Agent for the applicant.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Hi. Upon securing the pool permit, the pool company put the patio in as well, not realizing there was going to be an issue, which has brought us before the board. You can see it's very minimal relief that we're looking for.
Any questions from the board on it?
Nope.
Nope.
Planning, any comments? Anyone else that would like to be heard in this application?
Make a motion, we approve the application.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Good to see everyone. Bye-bye.
Application number 653-23, Ralph and Veronica Mierzachewski. Permission to leave deck having front yard of 32 feet instead of required 40 feet and detached garage 20.3 by 20.3 having side yard of 3 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence A District, south side of Edgewood Street, 475 feet east of Belmore Avenue, Islip Terrace.
Ralph and Veronica Mierzachewski, 240 Edgewood Street, Islip Terrace, New York.
This is just the patio, the deck up in the front.
Yes,
When was that built?
he's the date guy.
That was probably about 5 years ago. It was just replaced the original deck that was there. It's actually set back a little bit further than plans it was on within 6-foot encroachment. Only a corner of the deck that's too close to the street.
They didn't realize the house is on an angle on the property, so it's just the one corner.
Any other questions from the board?
No.
Planning, any comments? Anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? I don't think a motion. Motion to grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Case is granted.
That's good with the
What about the
Garage.
garage? There's two parts.
Shed.
garage next
We had
to
a
the.
garage built in the back. There's two parts.
Oh.
There's the deck in the front and then the garage in the back.
Detached garage 3 instead of 4.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
the whole application's
It
approved.
is granted.
All right, thank you.
Application number 654-23, Joshua and Lauren Seiden. Permission to leave detached garage having height of 14.2 feet instead of permitted 14 feet and patio and driveway having side yard of 1.58 feet instead of required 4 feet. AAA District 278 cluster, east side of the Keel, 762.56 feet south of the Helm, East Islip.
Josh Biden, 23 The Kill, East Islip.
Don, you're out on this, right?
You don't feel like you have to?
You present?
Guess not.
No, he's not.
All right, you're in.
I'll accuse myself.
All right, the chairman has recused himself, so I'm going to take over. Did you put your name and address on the record?
Josh Biden,
You did, okay.
23 The Kill.
That was my calendar. Here it is. All right, so I think the number one issue here is the height, correct?
Correct.
14.2, why is it 14.2 feet high?
So when we built the garage, I was under the impression it was based on the slab height, not the grade height. So there's a 2-inch lip, an 1.5-inch lip entering the garage door for any kind of water or anything, so it doesn't come into the garage. So it was based on the slab height.
Anybody have any questions on the board? How about anyone in the audience? Does anyone have any questions or want to make a statement? That being none, I'll hear a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman,
Yes.
Sitting as chairman.
sitting as chairman.
Please respect that.
Yes, Chairman Deluxe. I'll make a motion that we grant the
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Application's granted.
Thank you.
It was short-lived.
Been deposed.
Application number 655-23, Albert Project LLC. Permission to erect 2-story addition, leaving front yard of 25 feet instead of required 30 feet, and to leave roofed over porch having front yard of 11.6 feet instead of required 30 feet, and side yard of 12 feet instead of required 14 feet. Residence A District, southwest corner of West Street and North Street, West Islip.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Larry Buscemi for Select Expediting, PO Box 679, Mount Sinai, New York, representing the Albert Project, the homeowner. This is an application for 2 structures, one existing, one proposed. The first is an existing front porch, which projects from the house only 4.4 feet. And has existed for a considerable amount of time, and the roof over is part of the roof line of the house. The house itself is only 16 feet from the property line, so to build anything would require a variance and bring us before you here. As far as the proposed structure, it's considerably further back from the street than the house itself. So about 9 feet further back than the house itself. All of this is in character and keeping with the character of the neighborhood. And if the board has any questions.
Where is the proposed structure? Is it part of the main structure?
It'll be part of the main structure
And
to the
the
north,
picture here, is this
correct?
the current photo?
Yes.
So it hasn't been constructed yet?
No, it's proposed.
Mr. Buscemi, the portion of the application which is to leave the roof over porch 11.6 instead of required 30. What is the neighbors in the neighborhood? What type of front yard does it hold?
They're generally similar in that area. They're older houses. If you can see the aerial, pretty much tell that it's kind of like that. It's that kind of a
They all
neighborhood,
look like they're pretty close.
right?
Thank you. Thank
Larry, do you have any idea why Mr. Simmons is showing a proposed subdivision line on the survey?
I do. The reason for that is that we will be at some point bringing a subdivision application back before this board, maybe, possibly, potentially, depending on planning.
Okay. Obviously, the board's not commenting on that.
Right, but at this point, the subdivision hasn't been applied for, or it's just a thought.
Any other questions?
No.
Manning, do you have any comments?
That's reasonable, and we would certainly agree to that.
Anyone else who would like to be heard on this application? If you could please step up one at a time, give us your name and address.
Michael Kofsky, 41 North Street, West Islip. K is in King, O is in Oscar, F is in Frank, S is in Sam, K is in King, Y is in Yankee.
So where's your house in relationship to the applicant?
I live on North Street. I am directly across from the application residence. No, I am the greenhouse on North Street.
Right there?
That way, the house right there.
Yeah, okay.
We strongly object to this application. First of all, the size that the proposed house would be completely out of whack with the rest of those houses on the block. It would completely mess up the composition of the neighborhood and make the real estate prices go completely out of whack because you're gonna have one house in the neighborhood which is significantly bigger than anything else. That's my first objection. And second, we have a strong objection to the fact that we want an assurance from the homeowner that this house is not going to be used for an Airbnb or a halfway house or anything like that. We've had enough problems on the block in the past year or two, and we don't want any more trouble on the block. There are a lot of kids on the block. It's all families, and we don't want any trouble.
I think that's not a permitted use, so I don't think that'd be a violation of the law for them to do that, so.
Oh, well, they're already asking for the subdivision, which we also strongly object to.
Subdivision is different than.
I know that, but I'm saying there's no, I mean, I don't know what other permits they've moved for or not moved for. So I just want it on the record now that if they're going to use it for anything other than the owner living in the house, we strongly object.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to be heard? Sir, please come up.
Yes, Jay Adrianson, 49 North Street, West Islip. Yes, ADRIAENSSENS. I didn't get
proximity to the.
Yes. Unfortunately, I didn't receive any I received a notification about the extension, but not what was involved in, that's why I was here, how big this is supposed to be. I know they've tried this subdivision before. I know that's a separate issue. We'll approach that at that point. Is this 1,000 square feet addition? It doesn't say anything here about, is it a garage? Is it because it's already a 2-story house now. It says a 2-story extension. I wasn't sure what that meant.
Ms. Shami, what's the purpose of the addition? What was the purpose of the addition?
Just more space.
Residence.
Present, yeah. And the addition is 21 by
Okay, it's 21 by 20 foot
21 feet by 21.
Just no garage, just the house part? Okay. Okay, I have no objection.
Just also to answer your question, the gentleman before you, they're not here for a variance to build a house larger than the law permits. That's not part of it. So the house they're building complies with the code.
I wasn't arguing that. My
No,
question
no,
was.
your gentleman predecessor.
Oh, okay, well, yeah, I don't want to be in trouble for him.
Did you have any more questions?
No, sir.
Do you want to come up and speak so we can get it on the record?
Can you please tell me what the total proposed square footage of the new house would be if the additions were approved?
We don't have that in front of us.
Well, that's kind of relevant, as I said, because it would be, at least to our calculations,
I'm sorry.
it would be disproportionate to the average square footage of all the rest of the houses on the block.
It's going to be 867 square feet.
For the entire house, that can't possibly be.
No, first floor addition proposed 441, and second floor addition 426. Am I wrong?
Is that ground floor area?
I'm not talking about what the additions would be, what the total square footage would be, including the additions.
Okay, that's easy. So 925 plus 736, gonna be 1661 plus 441 plus 426. I've exhausted my math. Anyone want
Like,
help?
So roughly 2,500. Okay, that is bigger than all the other houses on the block.
Also a bigger lot than everybody else.
It's not bigger than my lot, sir.
All right, now, actually, you may go, they may have a bowling alley. Can you stand down out of curiosity? No, it's not.
But they're not here seeking a variance because the house is too large. What they've proposed is within the building limits that the town has set.
Okay.
If they want to build a larger house that exceeds, we use FAR, floor area ratio, which is 25%, they'd have to come here and seek that, but they're not. So they're in compliance. We don't have the lawful right to tell them they can't build a house that size within the code.
Okay, but the porch is not.
The porch goes forward a little, yes.
Okay, it goes way forward, not just a little bit forward, way forward.
How far, how deep is how deep is your? It's a 4 feet forward. 4 feet.
They're already required to have 30 feet, and they're only at 11.4. Now they're gonna be at 7.4.
But we were looking and it looks like all the homes, nobody.
That is not correct.
Hang on, wait. Does your house hold a 30-foot?
Yes, it does. Does.
Okay, then we'll have to. You raise a point, we'll have to look and see. We don't know right off the top of our head, but our experts. I'm sorry.
04.
10. So we had 12, 2, 10, and 18, and they want, and 16, and they want 11.6.
And just to be clear, this porch would be a permitted encroachment if the house held the required 25 feet. The porch is less than 5 feet deep.
Yeah. You have any other questions, sir?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? Have anything else, Mr. Buscemi?
I'll rely on the board.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to make a motion that we reserve decision so we can deeply study these setbacks and come to the right determination.
In a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. I have the next one too.
He's on the next one. Application number 656-23, Frank Petroselli, Mark Petroselli, and Angela Rosa. Permission to use dwelling for two-family, family use only pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-419.1. Residence A District, north side of Connecticut Drive, 1,372.69 feet west of Ellesmere Avenue, Oakdale.
Let's make your appearance.
Good evening. Once again, Larry Buscemi, Select Permits, PO Box 679, Mount Sinai, New York, representing the homeowners who are present here today. I believe we meet all the requirements for the two-family family use, and we rely on the board.
You are, okay.
Got it.
Len, do you have any comments on this? No? Any other questions from you?
No, just what is the nature of the relationship?
Brothers.
The brothers and the criteria that satisfies the ordinance is a medical hardship.
I have no further questions.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? All right, take a motion. Wait. Okay.
Motion to grant the application.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Application.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Application number 657-23, Lori Bloomstein. Permission to erect two-story addition, leaving floor area ratio of 29% instead of permitted 25%, and to leave shed having side yard of 1.5 feet instead of required 2 feet. Residence A District, south side of 38th Street, 270 feet west of Broadway, Islip.
Hi, my name is Lori Blumstein, 6238th Street, Islip.
You just here on the, excuse me, two-story addition and then the shed, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the board on this?
No.
Planning, do you have any comments? Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? All right, I'll take a motion then.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion to grant the application.
Second. Anybody?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Application number 658-23, Kristen Woods, permission to erect one-story addition leaving front yard of 16.6 feet instead of required 25 feet, roofed over entrance leaving front yard of 8.1 feet instead of permitted encroachment setback of 20 feet, and roofed over entrance leaving side yard of 12 feet instead of required 14 feet. Residence B District, north side of East View Road, 819.3 feet east of Rosevale Avenue, Ronkonkoma.
Good evening, Board. Dennis Cook, 435 Maple Avenue, Westbury, New York, 11590.
Kristen and Jonathan Woods, 89 Eastview Road, Ronkonkoma, New York, 11779.
We're asking relief tonight for a front yard and side yard setbacks. The house is one of those small existing cottages that are next to Lake Ronkonkoma that were built during the, I'm pretty sure the 30s and the 40s, 20s, a little earlier, as originally as vacation homes. So the existing house is only 729 square feet. Obviously, my clients have a family, so the house is extremely tight right now. So they're adding onto the side. The reason why we picked the side yard is just right now the kitchen and the bathroom are to the back of the house. And the bedrooms are on the side but kind of cramped in. So economically, it would be very difficult to add the bedrooms to the back of the kitchens. We would have to move the kitchen to the back. We have to move the bathroom around. So we're trying to do it in a way that is most cost effective. Also, the proposed addition that's on the side is further back than the existing house stands to the street right now. And the other side yard setback that we're going for, the 12 feet, is an existing condition. So the house is non-conforming on the lot as it stands right now. Any questions? Oh, I'd also like to add that they did go for, originally they're going to do a second floor dormer, which they did get approved by the board, was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago, but the price of that was too high, so that's why they decided to add on to the side instead of the top.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, Deidre, does the neighborhood support this application? Not whether they're for or against it, the variance. This.
Yes, site reference. They're not. Yeah. No, and there's a record of 605. I just did. I just said it. I've never heard that. I've never.
Thank you. Is there anyone else would like to be heard in this application? As you said, they were granted the second floor back in 21.
Yeah.
Now they're going for this in lieu of that.
Yeah, because the construction of the house is a little bit unusual. So to actually do that second floor addition, it would pretty much involve putting LVLs as a bridge over the whole entire house. So the cost was through the roof, as you might imagine.
We couldn't do it. We really wanted to. Real bad.
So, I mean, you've been granted that. I just want to make sure that they were not going to go forward. All right, do we have any other questions from the board? Planning anything else? No? All right.
Make a motion, we approve the application.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Please, great.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Application number 659-23, Jaroslaw and Malgorata Tiska, permission to erect two-story dwelling and roofed-over porch, leaving floor area ratio of 29.22% instead of permitted 25%. Residence B District, southwest corner of Fairfax Road and Madison Avenue, West Islip.
Good evening. Dennis Oliver, architect of record for the owner, 924 Newbridge Road, Belmore, New York. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We are seeking permission to construct a new house on this lot. And we're requesting a variance of 4.2% over the gross floor area. We're proposing 29.2, where 25 is required. The main reason behind this, we had originally tried to design it to be in compliance with the 25%, but the owners are looking to make this their final forever home. And we really do need 4 bedrooms. And if we have to eliminate that 500 square feet, they lose the extra bedroom upstairs and they lose a lanai, which is a major design element on the first floor. And again, we designed it otherwise to be in compliance with all the proper setbacks. The only variance we're looking for is the gross floor area, and that's only 4.2%.
And right now it's vacant.
Right now it's vacant, yes, sir.
Any questions from the board on this? Planning, do you have any comments? Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion. We grant the application.
All in favor?
Aye.
Case is granted.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You can do fine. You can do fine. And it's a good application.
Good evening.
Good
My name-
evening.
One
Let me
second,
call
Liz.
you first.
Okay.
Application number, sorry, Ed, I turned you off. 660-23, Norma Villanueva. Permission to leave above-ground pool having rear yard of 9.6 feet instead of required 14 feet. Pool deck having rear yard of 4 feet instead of required 10 feet. Shed having rear yard of 1.6 feet and side yard of 1.7 feet instead of required 2 feet each. And chicken coop having rear yard of 7 feet instead of required 10 feet. Residence A District, north side of Woodland Avenue, 525 feet west of Prospect Street, Central Islip.
Good evening. My name is Norma Villanueva. My address is 53 Woodland Avenue in Central Islip.
You can pull the microphone down if you like. Okay. You have any questions for us, or do you want us to ask you?
No, only I need a permit for.
Is the chicken coop, is that movable?
Yes.
You move it away from the,
I don't understand.
Ariel. Deirdre, could you tell us what 0 Windsor Place is? Is it a recharge basin? Okay, I thought it was Town of Islip. I wasn't sure.
do you know where the chicken coop is on proximity?
Yes. You're not.
How many chickens do you have?
3 base more is fine. 9 is fine. 5.
5.
Yeah, 5.
Oh, 5 chickens.
5 chicken. Yeah.
That's not too many chickens.
Only some 3 little babies.
Walk up 5.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's a family.
Any other questions
A
from the board?
family.
Annie, do you have any comments? Anybody else like? You understand that? So if we grant it for the pool, it's only for the life of that pool.
Yeah.
Okay? For another pool, you've got to move it, be in compliance.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? I'll take a motion then.
Chairman, I make a motion that we grant the application and with respect to the above ground pool for the life of the pool.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Application number 661-23, Paul and Gabrielle Shields. Permission to leave 6-foot fence on property line not having required setback of 10 feet. Residence A District, northeast corner of Higby Lane and Capri Road, West Islip.
Hi, Gabrielle Shields, 327 Higby Lane, West Islip, New York, 11795. Just requesting to leave the fence as is, as it was when we bought the house. We have an open pool permit that we're trying to close, and that was why they noticed the location of the fence.
A photograph, I have that.
Oh,
First they said that.
you mean it's obscuring? I brought pictures of the corner. You have.
Yeah. How far is that? What's that?
But for a pool, don't you need 6-foot fence when there's a pool? You don't need a 6-foot fence when there's a pool for safety purposes? Only. Yeah, well, yeah, we didn't know that. We bought the house 6 years ago. It was there. Okay. The whole way around lattice work, you saying? Yeah, I get what you're saying. That lattice is not 2 feet high. Absolutely not. So it's 10 feet off the curb. They're saying that's not my property line, so that. trying to close the pool permit and they denied it for that, yeah. So it's either do that or move the whole fence back 10 feet off the property line. And what is the time frame we have to do that? It's financially tough. Because you got to get a whole new fence. I've never seen 2 feet worth of lattice work, so I don't know how much. I know that. Yeah.
Or move the fence.
Yeah.
You can do that.
No, I don't care about the privacy. Yeah. It was just there when we bought the house. So it was there when we bought the house. We didn't put it there for privacy, like it was already there. So that wasn't my issue.
By the chimney.
What is he doing, an inspection? Leave the fence, okay?
Okay. One thing is we haven't had an ID of those panels.
Maybe you can do that one.
You're looking at this.
You think that's cheaper to get a whole new fence? You think it's cheap?
Yes. You want to do this? Do you?
No, yeah, that works. Yeah, no.
That's nuts.
I think then you're gonna change the whole thing, like change the side and match the front.
No, you don't have to change it.
Now it's on. Wasn't on before. Yeah, but that's not enough.
But he's not bothering you about the front. It's on, right?
I'm sorry, can I ask one more question? It's just the side fence, not the front fence, correct? The side. Okay. Okay. Sorry.
For swimming season.
Okay.
What if you put the fence up? You don't need to do 10 feet. Then, right?
But if it's a 4-foot fence with 2-foot lattice, it doesn't have to have a 10-foot setback, correct? You need a variance on the.
Get it done before the summer.
Well, I don't know what the application is. It says just 6 feet for any 6-foot fence, 10 feet back for any property. If there's part of it we want to grant, I think we have to say that.
Well, I thought I did, but let's try it again. Nine application. However, 1 foot solid, 2 foot flat. That means you are
Good for you.
road. Road. Then that's that makes it.
Yes.
Any part that it's gotta be 4.
Mm-hmm.
You may have to press the first,
Second. Probably 8-foot panels, right?
I think.
4 feet solid, 2 feet lattice, you don't move it.
Gonna change it.
Is that the motion?
That's the motion.
So I second that motion.
All in favor?
Okay, thank you.
Application number 662-23, Gail Gitzinger, Permission to leave hot tub on concrete pad having side yard of 7.2 feet instead of required 14 feet, and wall 2 foot in height with stone area on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence A District, north side of Doncaster Avenue, 332 feet west of Harvest Lane, West Islip.
Hi, sorry. Gail Gitzinger, 96 Doncaster Avenue, West Islip. So the hot tub was put in 2017 before my husband passed away. He put it in on the concrete slab. Prior to that, there was a playground area there and the retaining wall was existing. So after he took the children's playground down, when they grew up, he put the slab in, put the hot tub on it.
What brings you here?
The variance.
Did you get a violation notice or?
Well, what happened was, right now we're in the process of going for coding. My husband had outstanding open, I guess, things that were not coded correctly prior to him passing almost 6 years ago. So I'm trying to bring the house to code. So there's a couple of outstanding things that I've been working diligently with town. I paid all his fines that he had outstanding. And I recently had my AC unit inspected for the electrical, the hot tub inspected for the electrical. I found the pool electrical certificate from when it was installed. The sheds under the deck we took out, and the inspector came and the deck, we're working with them now on the deck. So we've been piecing it together. We actually had solar panels put in and we got the permit for those. Because I'm trying to be able to stay in my home. It's been difficult, but the solar's helping me. So the town was very good about helping me get the solar panels so I could afford the electric, because I couldn't do it anymore.
Is the
The grade, the way it was, I guess it's higher than, like, my neighbors are, like, my neighbor next door, his is lower. So he had put the retaining wall just so that there wouldn't be runoff, because initially, when we moved into the home, there were those railroad ties in that area because their children that lived there prior to us had their playground. So we kind of took it over. So I guess it's just to prevent the, backflow into the neighbor's yard. So he had, when we did pavers in the backyard, he just wanted to make it look fancier. So he put the little retaining wall in. Ours is higher than the neighbor next door. No, there's nothing really. Yeah, it's low. It's just where we had pea gravel. So
Aye.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Application number 663-23, Christopher and Amanda Felix. Permission to leave pool patio having rear yard of 4.4 feet and side yard of 5.5 feet instead of required 6 feet each, and shed having side yard of 1.7 feet instead of required 2 feet, not having 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling. Residence B District, east side of Hyman Avenue, 380 feet south of 3rd Street, West Islip.
We just say our names and address.
Your name and address, please, ma'am.
Amanda and Christopher Felix, 218 Hyman Avenue, West Islip, New York, 11709.
Thank you. The shed. You have any? Of the shed. We don't have any pictures of the shed, right?
The woman in the zoning office just asked me to send her.
Sorry, I can't hear.
The woman in the zoning office just asked me to send her pictures of the patio.
See what it. Low.
And what's the height of the shed?
I believe it's somewhere around 7 feet. I only remember that because I was applying for the permit. She said to wait, she said you would need architectural plans if it's 10 feet or higher, and it wasn't when I measured.
The problem is that we require 20 feet behind.
Thank you.
And do you have any comments on this?
How, the full 20 feet? Can I go for another variance if I just push it a little bit further? I don't have much space on that side of the house.
Yeah, we have a street view. Well,
It's here.
it's there and that's.
It's so, I don't know what condition of it they
Not
have.
really, because look at all the patio they built.
What?
Can you
Gotta
get back?
measure to the patio. A total of 15.
So it should be in the back. 7. Okay. She's in 2. Okay. You bring it back like 13 feet?
I can try.
We'll grant you that you can bring it back to 15 feet from the front of the house.
Okay. And the patio?
Yeah. Okay.
15 feet. And then once we do that, I apply again, or how does that work? The variance? Oh, so you're just telling me I just need to move the shed. I don't have to do this again? Okay. So, okay, just making sure, because I want to do everything by the book. So just 15 feet off the property line and then we're good to go.
Oh, the front of the house. And the
About
front,
the front of the house.
yeah, the front line of the house would be the closest to the street. So the opposite side of your house is actually a little closer. So when you move it, you don't have to move it from 15 feet from the front line that it's near.
Okay.
That clear? You have a bump out on the other side.
He's got it. He's got it.
You know you should do? Tomorrow, call here and bring your survey to her and she will show you.
He's got it.
He's got it. He's
No,
good.
I got what you said.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Is
right.
there anyone else who would like to be heard in this
Get it right
application? No? All right, so we'll take a motion. Who's spatial?
Oh, yeah, motion to, deny the application as to the fence and instead granted it 15 feet, grant the balance. Oh, I'm sorry, I can say the fence, shed. And then grant the balance of the application. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Application as modified is granted.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Application number 664-23, Stephen O'Neill, permission to leave second-story deck having side yard of 10.5 feet instead of required 14 feet, and 4-foot chain link fence in site triangles exceeding permitted height of 3 feet. Residence A District, southeast corner of Story Boulevard and Hyman Avenue, Bayshore.
Good evening, Michael Arado, Captain Permit 245, Route 109, West Babylon. It's ARATO. Got it. So we're here today asking for relief, side yard setback of 14 feet to 10.5 feet for the deck. The deck starts out at 14.2 feet, and the house was built kind of on an angle on this lot. So you can see it followed the foundation line, and that's where we ended up on the end at 10.5 feet. With regards to the fence, this violation started out as the owner had to remove some shrubs and trees from the Bayshore Road. He cleaned everything out, went to show the inspector, and then the inspector said everything looks good, but you still have violations on the house, but he had no idea about the deck or the fence being in violation, so that's how he filed for these permits. So this owner had moved into this house when he was younger with his family. 1992, this fence has been there. It's been there ever since. Fence is required because a lot of people, if they cars break down on the highway, they leave their cars in front of his house. So for him to take this fence down, he really just can't do it. I mean,
Usually pretty stringent about site plan. I don't know if we've ever granted variance.
well, it's a see-through fence. I mean, I have pictures here if you want to see what it looks like from the street.
You see that? Yeah.
Yeah, I have like pretty clear pictures if you want to check it out.
Let's see what unfolds here before I start talking.
Right.
You know, I'm not certain this one isn't vegetation. Sorry?
Side tracks is a big problem, right? Less of the fence or of the
Vegetation.
vegetation. Are they willing to remove that vegetation?
I think they have, right?
I mean, the inspector didn't mention that vegetation. It was the vegetation on Bay Shore Road that he wanted cleared out, which he did clear out.
Again, I don't think the side tracks.
It's in the zoning code about fence height, if it's a site obstruction.
No, I understand that, but that's not what, I mean, I'm just here for the fence. I didn't ask the client if he wanted to remove the vegetation.
Yeah, so long as it's not a site obstruction.
As a condition.
No, understood.
But if we were to create a variance, sightline as a condition. And it just doesn't. So that way they could. John.
So that's what I'm saying. Like it's what I can ask him. I don't know, but I mean, that fence has been there since the 90s. It's not like he put that up to rip it.
Is that the property where the fence is on?
Hang on. The fence is this chain link fence, according to the survey that I have here. It's within it's inside his property line. The fence is.
Condition it so long as it.
Well, the trees look like they're behind that fence. I don't know about that one. That one I don't know. So that would be the town would have to rip that fence, that tree down.
They should cover it.
Yeah, so Deirdre, can you show the corner of Bay Shore Road? Well, the property doesn't actually have real frontage on Bay Shore Road. That stop sign, that's where the violation began, right?
Yeah, he cleared all that out.
Right, so just move up there a little bit so the board can see.
Yeah, and I took pictures of that.
Started with an actual site obstruction violation summons, I guess, issued by maybe code enforcement, maybe traffic safety. It was
Yes.
vegetation. So the vegetation was cleared, as we saw in the later street view. Right? There it is. Vegetation is cleared. The fence remains, and it's 4 foot instead of 3. So likewise, the other corner of Hyman and Story, that's 4 foot with significantly less vegetation and probably not a real site obstruction, right? Well, lower speed area. It's not up for us to determine. We're not the vegetation police, right?
As far as I'm aware.
However, the reading by zoning of the code is right or wrong, that if the fence is 4 foot, not 3 foot, it is a site obstruction, and that's a little gray.
It's a
Open chain link.
Yeah, it's a see-through fence.
Really the vegetation that.
But regardless of the fence, if it's overgrown, they can issue them a summons.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying. I think that
If it's
tree
on
is.
town properties, the town's job to get rid of it.
I don't have a problem personally with the fence.
As long as it's open, right?
outside our.
Right. Even if the fence wasn't there, they'd have to do that, right?
Because it's a 4-foot chain link fence and not a solid fence, probably.
Anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
Motion to grant the application on the condition that vegetation.
Aye. Thank you. Have a good night.
Some precedent here.
Next one will be a good one.
Yes, you will find this interesting. Application number 665-23, Mario Trocchia. Permission to leave pool patio on side property line and having side yard of 3 feet instead of required 6 feet each, resulting in rear yard landscaping of 15% instead of required 40%. Residence B District, south side of Columbine Avenue, 962.96 feet east of Comac Road, Islip. Don't have your surveys? A lot of chatter down there.
Please give us your name and address, sir.
I am Mario Trocchia, 52 Columbine Avenue, Islip, New York.
Hey, sir, do you have anything to tell us about the application or?
Yeah, I was really vague about it because I didn't know that this existed, but I did put a drainage system into the yard to compensate for what I've lost in landscaping. So there's pre-slab, concrete pre-slabs all in the back of the yard, and all the drainage goes there.
Usually we don't grant variances of this much.
I had a lot of issues with the pool contractor, and he says I can put the pool where I want, where that's not the case, and he actually had to go to a lawsuit with him. Right. I compensated that with the drainage system. So I know we don't want to flood my neighbors, so I actually put the drainage system to compensate that. Well, what, for flooding purposes, I'm assuming why you want landscaping?
What Mr. Sullivan is saying is the code permits 40%. The code wants it to be 40%. You're at 15%. So you're saying I've ameliorated potential flooding.
Right.
By putting in drainage, but that doesn't get you, the code says 40%.
I mean, it wasn't brought to my attention when I went for the permit or anything of that sort from the contract nor the township.
I know, but we have to ensure that the zoning is enforced.
I understand, but if we don't know about it, that's.
Yeah, but that's not an excuse that is accepted by the law. Because then somebody could build 2 feet from your house and say, I didn't know.
No, you can't do that.
And we'd have to wait, and we'd have to say, using your logic, okay, you didn't know.
Well,
Look at what's there.
well, the logic behind everything is to compensate for rainfall. I mean, that's why the landscaping you want it there.
Now, it's not, that's secondary. The main is so that it doesn't look like the Bronx, Queens. And you have grass, trees, plants, spending a lot of time on vegetation. That's the main reason. Secondarily is so you don't create runoff.
We're willing to give you, I'm sure, I think we're gonna give you some relief on them.
You do 30%.
30%.
And that's in total of what, with the pool included, the whole yard?
You need landscape.
You gotta pull up some of the concrete and some of the block. Like, right. Gonna give you some relief on that, I'm pretty sure.
Well, we have grass back there, just Not enough.
Enough.
Right.
Couple of ways that we can see is not enough. You're going to have, however you want to do it, 30%. It's going to have to be landscaped.
Could be worse, it's not the end of the world, but.
Who determines how much is 15% or 30%? All right. All right. I understand that when the permit should have been granted by the township, that should be told to the customer, which is me. Right.
The amount of block you have there.
If you put a pool in, you know you're gonna put patios, needs to make it look good.
Right.
No, you didn't. How else would they carry on government?
It should have been,
Buy and miss.
well, it's very, yeah, and right now you're telling me it's supposed to be 40%, so that should have been told to me when the permit was granted.
Right.
Anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
All right.
Modify that.
So they're gonna contact me or they're gonna send me a letter, what I gotta do? I know what I gotta do now, but yeah.
So you need to be in compliance and they'll see that you're allowed up to 30%. You have to bring it up to 30%.
So who do I used to be, the building department?
You'll get a letter in the mail in a couple days.
Okay.
And you'll take that, you'll figure out how many things.
Or concrete.
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 Oh.
Well, there were concrete areas in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to remove concrete.
Yeah.
Oh.
Don't you say?
I know, that's.
No. You don't have to necessarily take the pavers, which are newer. You could take the older concrete away.
All right,
And once you have that done, you go to the building, you get a survey, you go to the building department.
so I gotta get another survey then?
I don't-
This is costing, this is costing a lot of money just for a pool. I mean, no guidance from the township and,
Talk to the building.
all right, thank you.
Application number 666-23, Stephen and Chelsea Provenzano, permission to erect one-story addition, 20 by 32, having front yard of 22.8 feet instead of required 25 feet, and to leave portico, having front yard of 14.1 feet instead of required 25 feet. Residence B District, south side of 3rd Street, 120 feet west of Cherry Avenue, West Haven.
Hi. Chelsea and Stephen from 44 3rd Street, West Sayville.
You're just here for the addition, right?
Yes.
And the portico.
Was that?
Portico.
Yeah.
Right, yeah,
That's existing, yeah.
I want to leave it.
Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard in this application?
Aye.
Good, thank you.
Application number 667-23, Michael Murtha. Permission to alter roof line, leaving side yard of 8.1 feet instead of required 15 feet, to maintain buffer of 15 feet instead of required 25 feet, a buffer of 10 feet instead of required 15 feet, and to leave temporary trailer and electric meter in buffer. Residence CAA District, northwest corner of Community Road and Union Boulevard, through lot to the Long Island Railroad, Bay Shore.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Michael Murtha, Murtha, 40 Turn Court, Bay Shore, New York. So I purchased this property from Keyspan about a year ago. And we're in the process of getting, actually the planning board allowed us to go from, it used to be in the 50s, a two-family situation. Then at some point there, a doctor turned into a doctor's office legally. And now we're bringing it back to the two-family situation, and the planning board has already granted me that about 6 months ago. So basically, in reference to the relief I'm looking for, the side setback, right now in the back is a large parking area. In addition to that, the property has about 35 to 40 monitoring wells that were they're testing the air or the groundwater underneath the entire property. It's all clean now, but they keep the equipment back there. And the well, there's sets of 3 wells all over the place. Part of that temporary oxygenation trailer and the electric meter is for Keyspan to come, and they come by several times a month with their equipment and they test everything and make sure it's all good. So that is their stuff, and they have right now I have a covenant with them, easement agreement with them until all this equipment is no longer necessary.
How long is the period that they're gonna be necessary?
Oh no, open-ended.
What is to the west of your property?
To the west is a I think it's a single-family dwelling.
So I'm looking at the survey, and you want a relaxation from 15 down to 8.
15th, on the dwelling, yes, because right now,
Okay, that's almost a 50% relaxation.
it's an existing building with a flat roof. Frankly, I think it'd be a lot nicer to me.
So what's triggering the side yard variance if you're gonna peak roof? That piece between where the current roof, flat roof is, where the top of the peak is what needs there.
Correct. Not the structure itself, not increasing the structure at all. They're just making it more beautiful, make it look like a residence instead of a, no. Correct. Nope. No.
Any other questions from the board? Planning, do you have any?
It's still gonna be a residential use.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
Thank you very much.
Application number 668-23, Nicholas Edward Francis McCucci. Permission to erect 2-story addition and 2nd-story addition, leaving side yard of 8.87 feet, and 1-story addition, leaving side yard of 8.22 feet, instead of required 14 feet each, and total side yards of 23.84 feet instead of required 28 feet. Residence AA District, 278 Cluster, west side of Blue Point Road, 165.44 feet south of Spiral Road, Holtzville.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Ashley Lowe from Mark Anthony Architects. Our office is located at 1563 Belmore Avenue in Belmore, New York. Today I'm appearing, Lowe, Lowe. Today, I'm appearing for our client, Nicholas Makuchi, who is the owner and occupant of the subject property and is here with us tonight. We are here this evening requesting a variance for a proposed second-story addition, two-story addition, and a proposed one-story garage addition. The side yard setbacks on the south side of the property do not meet the minimum required 14 feet, having 8.87 feet to the two-story addition and 8.22 feet to the one-story garage addition, requiring a variance for 5.13 feet and 5.78 feet respectively. Additionally,
Why I'm looking at your dump off the south side of the property, why should we grant build 8.87 two-story garage? What's the rationale other than?
so the rationale was to provide additional living space for the,
Okay, I get that. I couldn't make but wrong. What is the zoning reason? What is the nature and character of the neighborhood? Are there a whole bunch just like that? You're asking us to give maybe a 40% relaxation. Why? Other than the fact that they need it and want it.
it was just a design decision by the architect. We did speak with zoning afterwards, and they said that they had a problem with the 8.87 feet. I spoke to Deirdre today. Say that again?
No, I guess that.
And we did speak with the client earlier, and we figured that we would have to cut that number down to closer to 10 feet. I did speak with the client. He did approve. He's here today. If you'd like to speak with him, he said that he would. I spoke to Deirdre earlier. She said she would be more comfortable with something at around 10 feet. Doesn't help us.
But I get that, but the nature and the character of the neighborhood is. But I'm still asking the nature and the character of the neighborhood. So one grant can not make. And if we keep granting it, that's going to become a nature. So why don't we require compliance? I mean, one is not the nature and character of the neighborhood.
That's because it was upzoned, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So there were others that looked like it, but it was upzoned.
I don't see allowing new construction. And we know. It's self-imposed.
So, sir, Monica, speak. 1 second, sir. Sorry about this.
You're saying roadways cutting into.
Sir, if you'd like to speak, please give us your name and address.
My name is Nicholas Makuchi, 184 Blue Point Road West, Holtzville, New York, 11742. All right, just so, I mean, I understand it's definitely not up to code. But when I'm getting close to my neighbor's property line, that's their fence line. And then they still have a whole nother 10 feet until their house actually starts. So it's not like the houses are gonna actually be like back to back.
You can't use your neighbor's property to bolster your request. The property on the other side of the fence, your neighbor's property.
I understand.
You can't add that and say, look,
No, I understand. I just wanted to take away the image of houses being back to back.
what, I get that. Not
Yes.
Saying, I appreciate it. What happens is, once we start granting, then 14 becomes 8, then 8 becomes 6, it becomes 3, and you're not gonna recognize your neighbor.
All right, so is it possible we can chop that down a little bit as,
I think it's another way.
Well, the issue too is how big is the neighborhood? You have all the property, looks like a giant roadway. I mean, I don't know how many houses even fit within 500.
Whatever's there, it's fine.
I have two houses around the block that were high ranches that got built to be substantially bigger, not necessarily wider, but they, I mean, one of the addresses was 146 Spiral Road, which is directly around the corner.
Right.
Yeah, I understand. It's an all original house from 1970. It's, you know, it was dressed up nicely when I bought it 2 years ago. It's not in the best condition, so I have two kids and I have another one coming in February. I'm kind of trying to add more space for everybody.
I think,
Additionally, sorry.
go ahead.
Are we allowed to go back and forth? I did also want to mention, the property is pie shaped, so the lot in the front is 64.65 feet and the rear yard property line is nearly double that. So that's why, in the back of the house, we meet the side yard setback, but then as we get closer to the front, the lot gets much more narrow. So if it was a typical lot that had a 100-foot 200 feet by 100 feet, like the lot normally calls for, then he would meet the side yard setback and the aggregate setback.
Yes, I would like to make it a two-car garage instead of a one-car garage. Additionally, with building on top.
There's living space on top.
Right, it's garage and then an extension on top for another bedroom.
So Ashley, if you held a minimum of 10 to that corner, let's say, what would the rear, obviously the side of the house and the property lines converge, right? So as you just said, pie shaped. So what would the rear of that addition hold? Somebody's calling out 10-foot for an accessory structure, but they don't call out what the setback to the rear of this on the south side here.
Yeah, it's on the south side of the property. Look, it looks like there's no dimension for that.
It would hold the 50 feet. Oh, even with the 80 feet?
Just to the accessory structure.
So only a pretty small wedge of that addition would be.
Yeah, it's just mostly that little bit. Yeah. That's to the AC unit.
Yes, that's and it goes down. So, if I am fair, I mean, down to L. I mean, we could give you some of them.
How far back would you want it to be recessed?
Well, you say.
It's gonna look like.
I mean, like cut it back like this.
But I mean, recess.
I'll cut this back and then this could be wider.
Start here and go back here. I think that's what they mean. Can I approach? Can I come back up?
That's fine.
So if we approve 12 tonight, we can get it granted and we don't have to come back to the board. We'll make 12 happen.
I agree. Yes, thank
He's
you.
the boss, so yes.
Yes.
And then also the 8. And carry through.
And,
Granted so that the minimum side yard setback is 12 feet.
and does that cover the aggregate as well? Because we're here for the aggregate as well, because it affects the aggregate. So I just want to make sure it carries over for that as well. $23. Yes.
Instead of 28?
Yes.
Well, based on the 12.
I understand that. Thank you, Santa.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. They're okay with it. Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm right back.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. No, those are cars. There's horses. Yeah, look, they've got the aerial printing. That's fun.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Which they have in the.
That's a town. Maybe I'll wait a moment. I found a Brookhaven. I'm not grateful. Yeah, no, you should. Because I won't be texting the board members as I'm trying to present to them.
Sure. They saw, Dan, the LIA had, we all recognize that, right?
Application number 632-23. Anthony Levy, permission to erect addition 28 by 31.35 irregular to detached garage, leaving height of 25.37 feet instead of permitted 14 feet. To leave tennis court fence having height of 10 feet instead of permitted 8 feet. 6-foot fence on property line not having required setback 15 feet. And to maintain corrals in front yard when permitted only behind the rear yard line of the dwelling, pursuant to Town Code Section 12-27, A4, and 12-28. Residence AAA District, south side of Dock Road, 437.81 feet west of Meadow Farm Road, through lot to Meadow Farm Road, East Islip.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Anthony Guardino. I'm a partner with the law firm of Farrell Fritz, Hauppauge, New York, representing the applicant, Anthony Levy, who is the owner of Meadow Creek Farm, which is located at 170 Dock Road in East Islip. The applicant is requesting, as was just mentioned, a number of variances. The primary one, and the one I'm going to focus on, is the height of the accessory structure, because that's the only variance that involves new construction. Everything else that was being sought relates to pre-existing conditions. I have Mr. Levy here behind me to my right. He's here to answer any questions the board may have. And I also believe that one or more of Mr. Levy's neighbors are here to offer their support for this application. And I believe they'll come up after when I'm done. So the subject property is a large, irregularly shaped parcel. It's almost 8 acres in size, located on the south side of Dock Road and west of Meadow Farm Road in East Islip. This, in my opinion, is a rather unique piece. I know there are other large pieces down in this area, but this is truly, in my opinion, a unique piece of property. I was there last week, and it is beautiful. It is located in the Residence AAA zoning district, which, as you know, allows single-family homes on 40,000 square foot lots. It also permits accessory structures, provided that they are no more than 14 feet high. The district also permits fences that are not more than 8 feet high, provided that they are located at least 15 feet from a property street line. This particular property is improved with a 2-story dwelling that is set back more than 300 feet from Dock Road. There is also an attractive detached 2-story garage, an in-ground swimming pool, and a tennis court located in the rear yard. A stable and several horse corrals are located in the front yard. For all intensive purposes, this is a working horse farm that keeps several horses and other farm animals. Mr. Levy owned this property for more than 25 years, having purchased it from the Entenmann family, who operated a horse farm on the property before he owned it. Shortly before purchasing the property, Mr. Levy proposed to construct a garage on the property that required a height variance. The variance was unanimously granted by this board in November of 1998, subject to one condition, and that condition was that the second floor attic space not be used for habitable purposes. I handed up a copy of that decision earlier. This new addition is not going to have a second floor of attic space. It's just open space to the roof line, sort of like a cathedral ceiling inside, really just to maintain the ridge line. That's the reason why it's got the open space inside. The surrounding properties, you have to the west, the town's Champlain's, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Champlain's Creek Marina, and a parking lot and the creek itself. To the north, you have a tributary of the creek that travels through Percy Williams Cove Recreation Area, and that has a marina and tennis court on it. That is a private members-only recreation area for residents of the Percy William Cove community. To the west, you do have single-family homes that front on Meadow Farm Road, and there's one home that fronts on Dock Road. And to the south, you have a large 4.5 acre parcel residential piece with a pool and a pool house that is located behind the Levy's garage. So if I can just go through the items that need relief and just talk about them briefly, and I'll try to be brief. So the various structures that need relief, there are 4 of them. So one is the detached garage that currently houses several cars, they're classic cars that Mr. Levy collects, and it also houses tractors and other large machinery that Mr. Levy uses to maintain his farm property.
Mr. Guardina.
Yes.
In 1998, the board granted a 24 by 72 foot garage
Correct,
with a height of 25 feet.
correct.
And now the applicant wants another 31 feet. So they went over 100 foot of garage, 24 foot high. Why do they, other than they want to store antique cars and tractors, ponies, why do they need a 100-foot garage at 25 feet?
Well, it's what's being added is just 950 square feet. It's 2 bays that are being added, 2 garage bays, because he's out of space. He has a lot of equipment. He has cars, and he's entitled to cars. He's entitled to collector cars.
He's entitled to cars, he's entitled to collect,
Yep.
but he's not entitled to have what he wants as far as to house them.
Understood. But this parcel is unique in that most houses, you store your cars and maybe you store some goods and property. This property is a farm. This property has tractors, it has equipment, it has lawn mowers, it has.
Does he grow?
It's horse farm.
What?
Horse farm. He doesn't grow anything. He grows horses. He has horses that run around the property. There's some pictures in there that show the corrals. You can see it's a pretty significant operation. So he's seeking to add this 950 square foot addition to the east side to create these 2 additional bays so that he has this additional space. The garage does not require any setback relief, but what he's trying to do is maintain the appearance. It's a beautiful structure. It looks like a carriage house. There are pictures in the booklet at Exhibit 5. It's a very, very attractive structure, and he's just trying to add to it and maintain the same roof line that the board granted several years ago. This is the only improvement that I mentioned earlier that actually is a new improvement. So then we'll go to the next items that need relief. As you would expect on a horse farm, you have corrals, right? You have horses, you have corrals. And there are several corrals on the property that surround the stable. These corrals were present when Mr. Levy purchased the property. And because the residence is set back so far from the property, or from the road, I should say, from Dock Road, all of these corrals are located in the front yard. That's the largest area of the property. And you can see the dirt area is one of the corrals that's up on the screen. And these corrals are located behind a solid stockade fence and a very dense natural vegetative buffer. The corrals are not visible from the road. So I have pictures in there so that you could see what the corrals look like, but that's taken from the interior of the property. You're not able to see them from the exterior of the property. Again, this is a pre-existing condition that Mr. Levy would like to maintain. And all of these came up, as I believe you know, yes.
Pre-existing.
Well, when he purchased it in 1998, all of this was, there was a horse farm.
Except for the,
Garage, right, he built the garage in 98, and now he wants to build the addition. But all these other things are just there. If you look at the fence that we're trying to legalize, it's all rusty, it's falling down, it's encased in vegetation. I'm not quite sure, I was brought into this to obtain the variances. The town, when we came in for the garage, the town starts looking for things and they find, you're going to find things. You could find stuff on any property. And so they're asking us to legalize it. My client said, fine, we'll do whatever we need to do. He wants to do the right thing. Then you have the tennis court. So when, again, purchased the property, there was a tennis court located to the east of the house. And as with all tennis courts, you have a tennis court enclosure, which is a fence. It's surrounded by a tall fence that keeps errant balls from leaving the court. The fence that surrounds this particular fence is 10 feet in height. And that is, I researched this, that is the most typical fence height. Typically, it's between 10 and 12 feet is the height that's recommended. But the most typical fence for around a tennis court is a 10-foot fence. That's what this has. However, the code requires or only allows 8-foot high fence. So this fence needs a variance for the tennis court enclosure. Again, a pre-existing condition. And then the last is the fence along the street property line. So when Mr. Levy purchased the property, there were 6-foot high stockade and chain link fences that surround the property, and they're still there. And that is along Dock Road and the parking lot for the adjacent Champlain's Creek Marina. Now, this is, I think, if I could just call your attention to Exhibit 8, because, and I don't know if anyone was out there. I'm sorry, Exhibit 9, my apologies. So the first photograph in Exhibit 9 is taken from the corner of the marina at Champlain's Creek Marina and looking back up Dock Road. The subject property is on the right. And if you look at this photograph and you look at the survey, the fence that is located along, I'm going to say Dock Road, when it's a road, actually complies. It's set back the requisite distance. It has vegetation in front of it. You don't even know there's a fence in there. And you can see that in this photograph. If you flip the page to the next photograph, I'm just turning the camera this way. Well, Dock Road turns into a parking lot at some point for Champlain's Creek Marina. And it's a parking lot for boat trailers, etc. It's not really a road, although on the map it still shows it as being a road. But it's really a parking lot at that point. At that point, if you flip the page again, you see the fence that's there along the property line, and it goes south at that point. That fence is a town fence. That's not our fence. If you look at it, the next photograph, and it's hard to see, I took it from the Levy property looking out to the marina. There's actually barbed wire on the top of it, and barbed wire, and that's a town fence. There is a fence like 6 inches behind it that I presumably belongs to my client, but they're parallel. They run right alongside each other. And there's also in some places an old stockade fence. It's buried in the vegetation. I don't even know how you'd remove it. There's vines or whatever. It's in there, but it's presumably our fence. We need to legalize that. There's also, if you flip the page again, you see the photo going out towards the water, and towards the right there is a stockade fence. That's also adjacent to the Levy property. That stockade fence was placed there, and it's attached to the chain link fence that the town owns. The reason it's there is pure privacy. Otherwise, when Mr. Levy and his family are at their dock, They're looking, there's a parking lot that's looking into them. So they put that fence up
That at the end of the parking lot?
at the very end of the parking lot, correct, exactly. And then the last photo in Exhibit 9 actually is taken from the Levy property, looking back at the parking lot, and you see the top of the stockade fence. And you can see actually in that picture to the right, the town's chain link fence, and then behind it, there's some remnants of a stockade fence. Again, it's pieces of fence, we'll legalize it, we'll do whatever we need to do there. But it is a rather unique situation there with the fences. So we would say that my position and my client's position is that because the southerly extension of Dock Road does not actually function as a road, but rather as a parking lot, and because the town has already installed a chain link fence on the property line between the parcels, requiring Mr. Levy to now take his second fence and set it back 15 feet is going to create a 15-foot wide alley between two fences that's just going to catch leaves and garbage, and it's going to be unsightly. There's really no purpose to setting back his fence if the town's fence is going to be right on the road.
Mr.
Yes.
Guardino, I've been listening to what you're saying, and
Yeah.
I agree with 90% of what you say. I don't think the fences are problematic.
I didn't think so.
I think what's problematic is the addition to the garage.
Yes, okay. I sort of suspected that would be the case, but I needed to put on a full, a full presentation of all of the,
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I understand.
yeah.
You do a good job in
thank you.
presenting your client.
I may have missed this. How many acres is the property?
Just shy of 8. I think it's like 7.8 something acres. It's a pretty significant piece of property.
Yeah, it kind of falls on deaf ears, at least with me, when, and not that you're doing it purposely, and it's accurate what you're saying. You're saying it's existing. It's existing because it was granted by the board.
Right.
So what happens is we get to the situation where we keep granting on top of prior grants because it's existing.
Well, and just make no mistake, I didn't mean to suggest that I'm arguing that it's a pre-existing condition. The garage is not, and it never was.
So you qualify.
Yeah, no, it's just the 3. It's the tennis court, it's the fence and the corrals that are pre-existing. The garage is a new structure, or was a new structure. Okay.
You qualified.
Yes, okay,
as a result
okay.
of
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
there's not.
So, and I would say that you can look at some of the photographs now, I tried to take some pictures. I mean, there's really nothing around this garage except for one property that's to the south. And to the south, there is it looks to be like a pool house and some accessory structures that are related to a pool. And they're right behind the garage. And if I can, maybe I could find the photos there. Maybe I can call your attention to it. It might be easier to see that.
While you're doing that, I just want to point out
Yes.
to the record, I used to live in this area and ride my bike by this house every day on Dock Road, and I didn't know there were horses there. So they're doing a good job on keeping the corral.
Okay.
Free
Yeah.
people you put it.
Yeah, well, it's very dense. You can't see through the fences. So if you look at Exhibit 5, I guess that's not really the one I was looking for, but it shows the adjacent pieces. You can skip over, obviously, the marina. But, you have some houses, but then the third picture, you can see the type of landscaping that Mr. Levy has maintained. It's beautiful and it's dense. So that is looking actually east at the homes that are closest. That's not near the garage. That's looking from a little bit, I guess, behind the tennis court, but looking directly east. But you can see that it's a very attractive and beautiful landscaping and dense landscaping. The next photograph is another house that's taken. That's at the corner. That house is actually owned by Mr. Levy's son. So that's the next photograph. Oh, then the next one after that is the pictures of the accessory structures on the property to the south, the one I was looking for. And you can see there's a bunch of structures there. That's what's located behind the garage. I'm sorry, that is Exhibit 5.
Oh, 5.
5, and it's I think it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th photograph. And I took that photograph to show you what's there,
So if you can see where the fence is, I took it at the fence line. Flip the page, and then you can see I took it from where the garage extension is going to be. And you can see how dense the vegetation is. You can't really see those structures. If you look hard to the right, just to the left of the golf cart that's there, you can see the same structures. There's no direct line of sight of this. And I would also point out that although this is the closest property, the garage addition is going to be on the east. So it kind of wraps around, it kind of faces back in towards the property so that it would have the least impact on any neighboring properties, which I would say, that you really can't see in there. So, I mean, that's essentially my presentation. I do believe there are neighbors that would like to speak. Mr. Levy, do you want to address the board or? Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
On the corrals.
Yes.
What we do is we'll issue a 2-year renewable permit on those, since they're in front of the residence dwelling.
Now, we have to come back here every 2 years?
That's what code says.
That's our corral law,
Okay.
special permit.
It's just a 2-year renewable permit.
Now,
Wait, how did they get this far?
yeah, I was going to say, and I'm,
Somebody picking that up.
that's the issue. At some point, I mean, the property has a C of O. The garage has a C of O. And, it's like, if I keep coming back to the town, and it's no disrespect to the town, it could happen in any town. If I just keep coming back, you find more things. So I think this one is a reach going back, honestly, because this has been like this, at least with the three.
The law, it's the code.
But was it a special exception when they were built?
I don't know.
It's the horses that need permanence.
Not the,
The horses, and I don't know how long, and I don't know how many horses the Entenmann's had. I mean, listen, we have to do what we have to do. I hear you. I will talk to my
Each individual horse gets its own permit.
What's that?
Each individual horse gets its own permit, and it actually has the name of the horse. So it doesn't really run with the land that this.
Or run with the
property
horse.
has. 8
It
horses.
doesn't run with the horse, right? Okay.
It runs with the horse. No, we don't issue the
No,
permits.
it's not from this board.
And as a
You
matter of
get a
fact,
permit.
Oh,
in
okay.
order to
So,
get a permit, you
Yeah, I
must-
mean, you go in and get a permit
and that's okay. That's what I was saying. Do I have to come back to this board every 2 years?
for a corral.
So the correct, in order to have a horse and to have a permit for the horse, you must have exercise space. You must have a corral somewhere. However, unfortunately, chapter 12 sets forth that corral must be set behind the front line of it cannot be in the front yard.
Right.
The Board of Appeals can vary 3 provisions of chapter 12. One of the 3, and it doesn't even use the word vary. It says can grant as a special exception for a maximum period of 2 years. And one of the 3 is a corral not in the rear yard. So obviously the second front through lot issues here are quite unique,
Right.
but regardless, it's not in the rear yard, is it?
It's not.
So it's
not.
code 12-27 and
Okay.
12-28 actually say the board can grant as an exception, doesn't use the word variance,
Okay.
a 2-year renewable permit.
Whatever we have to do, we'll do. We'll see a lot of each
know
other.
that?
What's that?
You didn't know that?
No, this is my first horse application in Islip.
I was gonna say it's your first rodeo.
No, it's not.
I will be, for the record, I don't think any of us knew that law.
Thank you, Mary.
Mary did.
Yeah, other than Mary, so just to be fair.
Planning, do you have any initial comments on this?
And the one across the street. Yep.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on the planning department?
Future.
I concur.
Okay, Mr. Godino, you have anything else?
No, but I would just to comment on that. I mean, and it goes without saying, I mean, this board, and it wasn't, right, it was this board, predecessor board, did not find it objectionable to build the majority of the structure that's there today at that height. I don't think there have been any complaints. I don't think there have been any issues as far as I know. It would seem to me that if the board thought that the major part of the structure was fine at 25.5 feet, whatever it is, to deny the small portion, and I don't, and I understand, Mr. Wexler, you're the thinking you can't just keep growing and making grow and grow and grow. But I don't know if there's any real zoning reason not to grant this, given the unique situation. It's such a unique piece of property. And I know I keep coming back here, I keep saying that, but I'm just trying to find the most unique property in the town so that I can avoid the precedent concern. And I think this is one of them, an 8-acre piece that's a horse farm with, and I just, at this point, I should just sit down, let the neighbors, I guess, you can get a feel for, what they think about this. So I will, I'll sit down. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Is anyone else that'd like to be heard in this application? Please come up, give us your name and address.
My name is Michael Carolyn. I'm sorry, I'm in a hurry here. Michael Carolyn. I live at 150 Dock Road, which is the only house that was referred to. It's my wife, Johanna. Oh, that's my wife. Sorry. And we Carolan, Michael and Johanna Carolyn. Excuse me. So we live on the one house that is on Dock Road, and the gentleman is correct. Dock Road that's a parking lot. We know it's a parking lot. We've been to the town. The town was actually going to put a fence up across it to prevent people from going in there at night and other things that shouldn't be going on down there. And they never did that, but acknowledged at the point in time it was a parking lot. Speaking to the fence issue as far as around the road, it is true there's barbed wire there. It's a town fence, and I believe the other fence was just put up to prevent that barrier to fill up with garbage, which, by the way, this gentleman is out there maintaining that property on a regular basis outside his fence. I don't know where he finds the hours in the day inside, but he's outside cleaning, and I've seen him actually in the parking lot cleaning because people, unfortunately, garbage. There's a urinal that's a portable urinal that's there. I guess that's for the boaters or the security guard that's down the end. So just like the presentation, everything Mr. Levy does is beautiful as far as we're concerned. We've been neighbors now for maybe 20 years, but everything is maintained impeccably. The point of the corrals, they're painted. He makes sure that everything is. I can see barely through because I live. There's a hedge line, if you will, but we can see through somewhat, and he's always maintaining the corrals and make sure that, everybody's safe, the horses are well taken care of. And I'm not a farmer, he is, but I believe he even moves them into areas so he can have the growth for them to eat. And then, I don't know if that's accurate, but he does move them around to make sure, so the corrals are actually maintained independently. And everything he does is beautiful, just like the presentation. So I have no concern at all about the height variance. I understand the uniqueness of the property. And I think in the percentage of things, sometimes it looks small compared to how big the property is. I don't know where he keeps all the equipment, to be very honest with you. I've seen at times items have to be left out in order to shuffle them around, but it's beautifully maintained like everything. And, for the neighborhood, I'd rather have him get a variance than have 8 houses plopped on that property someday. Like that has gone on in other plots in the area that were. I'm sorry, I missed.
I'm saying if we deny.
Yes. Yes.
I don't think that's going to be triggered. They come out.
Oh, no. No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying is that with him, the way he does things, I think it's going to be beautiful. It'll be the right size. I was referring to is I would, as his neighbor, appreciate what he does and how he maintains it. So I have no problem being that it's in the line of sight, if you will, if I go through the fence. But I think the garbage issue is very important as far as his other fence is concerned. He's just married up against a town fence with barbed wire. And that's pretty much it as far as I'm concerned. But thank you for your consideration. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Landon, and I'm here on behalf of myself and my husband, Dr. Jonathan Landon. We live at 64 Meadow Farm Road on Dock. It's right next to Tony's property. We're the only ones that can actually see his garage. We have no issue with it at all. He maintains the property impeccably. It's the neatest property, I think, in the area. He's also an amazing neighbor. You wouldn't know it's a farm, I believe, as this gentleman here said, that's rode past it on numerous occasions. My pool house and pool that you're referring to is, you can't even see it from there. And that would be the only structures anywhere close to it. Our houses are, I'm about 5.5 acres myself, so we have plenty of space. We're completely fine with him putting the addition on the garage. Do you have any questions for myself? My husband wanted to be here tonight. He's happy to send an email, but he does cancer patients and he doesn't know how to be at the hospital tonight. Okay. Yeah, he's not him, his patient.
No, he's a
Thank
doctor.
you.
Anyone else would like to speak on that?
You knew.
Good evening. My name is Robert Levy. I live at 40 Meadow Farm Road. My dad. I guess I'm a little biased, right? Because it's dad. I think that it would be unusual for the board to say that Mr. Levy doesn't have a right to put an extension on a garage on such a unique piece of property in an estate. My house is probably the closest in the vicinity at 40 Meadow Farm Road. I don't think the fences are offensive. I don't think the tennis court fence that's been there for 50 years is unreasonable. Back to my yard. I think that anybody that would give consideration to what Mr. Levy's requesting, I think it would be unfair to judge whether some of these situations that have been brought up by the town are actually in good merit. It's about as much as I could offer. Any questions for me as a neighbor?
Brother, good neighbor.
It's actually my dad. He's a terrific neighbor. Thank you very much.
Anyone else would like to hear what you said?
Yep, let me just address the board quickly. So I just want to point out, because I just want to go through the 5 factors super quickly, but I do want to mention, because the gentleman mentioned about the possibility of houses being there. And I would say that, you know, if there's a concern about the size of the garage and the height of the garage, if this parcel were to be subdivided, there would be potentially, as 8 acres, let's say there'd be 7 houses, 6 houses. There would be 6 houses, 6 principal structures, all that would be larger than this garage and taller than this garage. And those lots could have their own accessory structures. So, you know, there could be a far greater impact if this parcel was developed. It's not being developed. I just want to point it out that, you know, there's a concern about, oh my God, this garage is so tall, but it could be much worse. So applying the standards, the benefit, you know, is great to the applicant because he needs the space in his garage to maintain his property, and there's no corresponding detriment to the community. You heard 3 residents speak. There are 3 more emails in the packet at the back of the book at Exhibit 10. So you have a number of neighbors that are immediate neighbors are all saying, I don't have a problem with it. So there's no detriment as far as I see it. I understand there are concerns about precedent. Again, I harp on it all the time. That factor is not in the code. It's not in the law. It's an islip thing. And precedent is important, but it's not a factor. The factors are the 5 factors and the benefit versus the burden. So will this create an undesirable change in the character of the community? I'm just going to focus on the garage because I don't think there's an issue with the others. I think that the addition is somewhat modest in size. It will maintain the same height as the existing garage. It's located in an area where no one can see it. And the neighbors, as you heard, don't have a problem with it. Can the benefit be sought by some other feasible method? I would say no. The addition has been designed to maintain the same scale and appearance. What's that?
What's the benefit?
Then his benefit is building a structure that matches the other structure. You could say that about anything. Build a shed somewhere else. See, I think. It's going to look like, it's just not going to look right. In Mr. Levy's opinion, it will not look aesthetically, I mean, it's a beautiful carriage house, and then it's going to have like this little extension that comes off it. I think, okay, but I think though, yeah. Yeah. All right, okay. Well, I mean, that's my opinion. Obviously, the board is entitled to its own opinion. But one thing I would like to say, and I say this with all due respect, and this is, okay, but I want to just finish the record. One point I would just like to make is that this is like the town's view of accessory structures, only because I've been here for a couple of times for these accessory structures. It's a one size fits all. It's not the way it works. I mean, in this neighborhood on an 8-acre parcel, people are not going to build they're not going to erect a Rubbermaid shed or a shed from Home Depot. You're going to have more significant size accessory structures. It's 8 acres. This parcel is palatial. So anyway, is the variance substantial? Again, I think it's qualitatively or quantitatively significant, but I don't think it's qualitatively significant because I think it's relatively small and it's screened and people are okay with it. And would it have an adverse impact on the physical character of the neighborhood or the environmental conditions? I would say no. The garage is going on the driveway. It's not like it's taking away landscaping. It's going where the driveway is now. And is it self-created? I would agree it is self-created. With regard to the garage, it is, but it's not dispositive. So I'll rest there. I'm sorry. Thank you for your patience, Mr. Wexler. I tried to speak quickly. Thank you very much. It's always great to see you all. Thank you. Any questions for me? Or I'm good. All right.
Now. Didn't vote no.
Thank you very much.
You missed this, of course, but it was.
Hey, I remember the case, because I sat on it the first time. This is a good book. What are we doing here? This is ridiculous. Okay. Get over it. Okay. Everybody ready?
Yes, we're ready.
Application number 669-23, 4771 Sunrise Inc. Permission to leave one-story additions, 2.5 feet by 4 feet and 2.5 feet by 6 feet, having front yard of 10.2 feet instead of required 60 feet. Business 1 District, northwest corner of Sunrise Highway and Ocean Avenue, Bohemia.
Where this is.
Good evening. My name is Howell Silverman, 12 Partridge Drive, Comac, New York, 11725. I'm here on behalf of 4571 Sunrise Incorporated. Patrick Curtis, the owner of the property, could not be here this evening because late this afternoon he was released from the hospital after more than a week's stay. Pardon me?
The attorney, agent,
I'm
member,
I'm one of the, I guess, employees of the company.
So you ordered to be here.
Pardon me?
You were ordered to be here.
I was asked to be here.
Authorization from the applicant, Mr. Silverman, to appear on his behalf.
Thank you. As you can see from the photo, or actually one of the photos, I believe that were provided to you, the original structure had an existing cantilever. And what we're asking for is to allow us to maintain the original front line of the structure and just extend it as indicated by the two yellow areas, 5 feet on the east side and 3 feet on the west side. Extending those two small areas does nothing to change the original setback, which I think was the issue, and it has no effect on the floor area ratio. We'd just like to note that the setback on the subject property is 2 feet greater, meaning it's set back 2 feet further than the adjacent property, immediately adjacent property next door.
Just so we're clear, the total additions are 2.5 feet by 4 feet and 2.5 feet by 6 feet in a business district.
Correct.
Thank you.
And we therefore believe the impact to be extremely minor and ask that we be issued a permit, which is, I think, the reason we're here. Variance, yeah.
We don't issue permits.
Any other questions from the board?
No.
No? Planning, do you have any? Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application?
Make a motion, we approve the application.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Give our regards.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
Application number 670-23, Luz Archimedes Galeas. Permission to reconstruct second-story addition, leaving side yard of 6.6 feet instead of required 14 feet, and total side yards of 21.4 feet instead of required 28 feet, resulting in floor area ratio of 39.5% instead of permitted 25%, and to leave driveway having side yard of 2 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence B District, west side of Myrtle Avenue, 195.48 feet south of Union Boulevard, West Islip.
Good evening, Board. Christopher Romano, his attorney, Mr. Stern, was unable to be here today. He asked me to appear on his behalf, so I'm just coming up to speed on most of the files, so I apologize if I have to ask some of my clients some of these questions.
Is that by the Luz Archimedes Galeas, 727 Murray Avenue in West Islip. The square footage you're talking about, is that by the bathroom? Because I know we took off some square footage, which is it was extended in one side of the bathroom on the first floor, so that's getting removable, and that's where we got those cut off right there, which.
Yeah, Billy, once you look at this.
Right now is a 43.9, which this is my second hearing that I'm coming. First time I came here for 43.9, 95.
And I believe then you resubmitted plans to bring it down to 39%. I believe the house that's existing was 37. Yes.
9.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, he did originally submit at a higher number, and then obviously he's trying to comply.
You can submit, I want 99. So I think that's what happened.
Understood. Right. There is. There's a comparable house at 623 Myrtle Avenue. It's on the same street.
I just briefly, because I know you're trying to do your best quick on the uptake, but so this, we believe this was represented by counsel. There was The board denied the application. It was recorded in March. It was to leave a second-story addition which spanned the entire width of the front of the house. And so that answers your question about the 6.6 feet. It was for a two-story addition that was already there. There was a stop work order involved. That addition was 12 by 20. We denied the application on both side yard reasons and FAR 43%. The applicant hired an attorney who contacted the town and asked about the possibility of reconstructing the addition and would the board see fit to hear a new application on the matter. The board did grant permission for them to come back and present this application at 39%. The addition is now 12 by 13. Well, it will be 12 by 13. The applicant is offering to reconstruct the addition. That would increase the, or let's say, offset any negative impact on the property to the north caused by the 6.6-foot side yard, to answer your question on that one. And he wasn't talking about the bump out in midway into the house in the backyard. He was talking about the front corner of the house where it's 6.6 feet.
Great, thank you.
And when you asked before, you don't know how the 37% got there. It got there by CO. It was legacy FAR. FAR was not adopted in Residence B zoning until 1987. The house entirely predated that. It's on a 40-foot wide lot by 100 deep. So it's only 4,000 square feet. So 37% comes pretty quickly on a 4,000 square foot lot.
I answered my own question via Deidre from our planning department. Said the highest grant we had was 32. 9.5.
Let me see the job. Okay. Yeah. For some reason, I have some records over here that says the existing FAR legally was 37.8%.
Currently it is.
Yeah.
Just asking for a small increase in that.
You know, can you zoom out a little bit? You've got no precedent on this?
Says it's. Right. There's precedent outside 500, just shortly outside of it,
Right.
correct?
Zoom out just so we can show them.
Yeah.
In the neighborhood up above, on the north of the tracks, that's the other unit.
Yeah, south.
Or south.
Same file map.
Oh.
Point to my. So this is the map of Pine Lake. It was filed in the 1920s. So it was filed in the 1920s into 20-foot strips. So you have 40-foot lots, 60-foot lots, and 80-foot lots. I would have venture a guess that those 32% were on larger lots, right?
Yeah, but the house this was pre-existing.
Maybe we should have him.
No position now.
Board. We asked you, could you come here? Please? Chairman, request two questions.
I'm not.
Oh, yeah, your notes. Here, you can sit.
I know.
We got two.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? Yes, sir? Good luck to the gentleman come up and speak.
Good evening. My name's David Henry, 708 Myrtle Avenue, West Side, slip diagonally across from the address. Henry, yes. The front bump out, they came up flush with the front of the house. He was looking for the aesthetics of it. I understand that. But after seeing what your zoning things say, it seems like an extreme over what the norm would be. The house was originally a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, I believe, when it was sold. The extension was put on. Earlier, we talked about, let's see. He didn't increase the footprint, but the size went up. Back in the early 2000s, we had a building boom, and people started to be able to get loans inexpensively. And what they did is they made McMansions. They took their houses and blew them completely up and left very little land. This house already has very little land, and we're now going to increase the amount of space that we have. My concern is that you're going to set a precedent. So I'm going to have another neighbor who goes, well, if you can increase it by X percent, I'm going to increase mine. So my concern is about my community, keeping the aesthetics of it. Again, we don't want to live a city life, and this is nothing like city. But once we start allowing bigger and bigger, my concern is for the future. So, well, and again, I don't have a problem with with him or with the building. My concern is for the community, and I fear that once we let it go, and this isn't other hearings here, we're for a few feet, and you kind of pondered whether yes or no. Looking at the numbers, this is way out of realm of what the rest were. You do this all the time, you'll make your decision. My concern is for my community. I don't want to lose, because the next guy's going to say, well, then I already have this. I'm going to go bigger. And just because you can doesn't mean we should. So that's only my concern, is just I don't want to set a precedent for the next guy to do it, and there goes my neighborhood.
We addressed zoning right on the head.
All right. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? No?
May I approach? I have something here that I think is, may not be directly on point.
Mr. Chairman, he'd like to approach.
I'm sorry. Give it to.
So there's a house basically that has, I believe, over 50%, and it's right down the block, and it's also a 4,000 square foot lot. He did some research, so I don't know if it's the 623 Myrtle Avenue.
That was granted by variance?
I believe that it was
When was it?
2009, I think. I only started to read it today when I.
Can I ask you a question? Has the world collapsed? Has
I don't think so. I hope not.
I mean, but we have to look at the nature and character of the neighborhood.
Sure.
I agree that 150.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not the nature, that's one.
Right. Understood. Because the
I
house
don't know
is.
what the nature and character of the neighborhood, maybe
Okay.
would, if I may be bold, suggest if that is at 39 is the nature and character of the legacy of existing, we have 2 grants, 32. But if it's otherwise existing at that high or close to that, that's a strong argument.
Okay.
Maybe you would like to adjourn this, and whomever, you or somebody else, like to do some research and let us know. Because if that is the nature and the character, we look at it in a different light. If it's not, doesn't augur well.
Okay,
Would you like that to inform us so we make a correct decision?
sure, you have the opportunity to do some research and bring it back. That's fine.
And I'm accepting.
All right, so you're requesting an adjournment?
Yes, please.
Any questions before the adjournment? No, it's granted. All right, so all in favor of granting the adjournment?
Aye.
Aye. Adjournment's granted.
Thank you very much.
He's got the good one back.
She wants it to be in the file because she's leaving us. I'm gonna call you curse words. I'm gonna call you curse words. I'm getting increasingly mad as I'm sitting.
I want my,
Yeah.
fault. I want my fault.
I will see. That's not, maybe.
You gotta be kidding me.
Oh, it is.
I thought you were saying Mike Walsh was an option.
Oh, no, Mike's not. Mike's not.
Yeah, I don't think so. When's your last day?
Um,
So it's close.
I know. Yes, in the outside. Sure, yeah.
That, yes, right. What are you gonna be doing then?
PI.
Yeah.
Application number 671-23, Sean Masood Kopal. Permission to erect two-story dwelling on lot having wetlands yield of 0.98 instead of required 1, lot area of 26,136 square feet instead of required 80,000 square feet, leaving front yard of 50 feet instead of required 63.8 feet, and to install cellar entrance, leaving rear yard of 21 feet instead of required 40 feet. Residence AAA District, southeast corner of South Gillette Avenue and Middle Road, Bayport.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Joseph F. Bazell, Blander and Visconti, 535 Broad Hollow Road, Suite B4 in Melville. The application is actually a reapplication for variance relief related to constructing one new home on a lot which was previously approved by subdivision, by this board, by Wetlands and Watercourse Management Act permit, and by state DEC. It's at the southeast corner of South Gillette and Middle Road in Bayport. Middle Road runs at an angle bearing north as it moves east. There is 393 feet of width along Middle Road, 364 along the southerly line. The frontage along Gillette is 80.53, but on the other side of the lot, on the easterly side, it's 206.14. The actual lot area is 52,856 square feet. It's at the east end of the town. The lots to the east are in Brookhaven, so it's right where Bayport becomes Blue Point. On March 27, 2012, the ZBA approved application 2812 by the applicants seeking variance relief related to a two-lot subdivision. Lot 1 is the subject premises. It was vacant then, it's vacant now. Lot 2 had the existing house originally constructed in 1955. I will turn in copies of the prior approval. The town approved the subdivision, which created the parcel now before the board. The DEC issued a permit in November of 2012. The town issued a wetland and watercourse permit in April of 2013. That required the filing of a conservation easement. That was done. At the time, the focus was on the subdivision. The owners did not intend to immediately build a new home. In time, they would sell the vacant lot, the lot we're talking about. So the house shown on that lot was not the actual house that they proposed to build. The lots were separated by new deeds. So this lot is a separate and independent parcel created by all the prior approvals I just mentioned. So the subdivision was finalized. The variances, however, expired. Now, towards the southeast corner of the property is the top of a freshwater wetland area, which is predominantly located in Brookhaven. The site is zoned AAA, but wetland and watercourse is applicable. This was the case. Correct. No, not at all. No, it still complies with the wetland approval issued by the town. It still complies with the DEC permit. The front yard setback of 50 feet is exactly as it was. The lot area is exactly as it was. The lot width is exactly as it was. The only difference is it's a different house. The reason it affects the setback, on the prior application, a 25-foot rear yard was approved. The difference here is the cellar entrance. The corner of the house is 25 feet, same as the prior approval. But there is a cellar entrance now on that side of the house, which is 4 feet. So that brings it to 21. But the difference in that setback, it was not, at the time, it was not the real house anybody proposed. If you took off the cellar entrance, if you just eliminated that, it would be at the same setback as the prior house. Well, we'd have to come back anyway because the variance is expired. You know, so, but for all the other variances, they're exactly the same. No. Mr. Wexler, it's not my decision. They asked for the cellar entrance. Obviously, it is within the board's discretion to deny the additional 4 feet and conform to the prior approval. The last time around, and it's interesting, the determination for the last application was 50 feet comply. And you can even see that it's in the decision on page 2 in the second paragraph. The dwelling as proposed parallel to Middle Road with a conforming front yard setback of 50 feet. So the board in 2012 determined that that setback was accurate in construing and complying with the code. That should, the setback is off Middle Road, not on Gillette Avenue.
Nobody's saying the prior approval.
No, it was the prior approval, and in fact, I have a copy of the subdivision map here I can hand off. They come in off Middle Road on both.
For some reason, the zoning denial that was written in 2012 reflected the lot area, the width of lot relaxation. So it's a little confusing.
I mean, it is specifically referenced in the decision that the board determined 50 feet to be compliant. It's an odd situation here because it says average on the block. Block is a planning term. It runs from intersection to intersection. However, here, once you get to the east, there are houses on this block. They're just in Brookhaven. For this determination, those houses are not being counted. My suspicion is in 2012, either they did count them, to which case you get to the average of frontage, because the only house on the block in the town is across the street. And it's the reverse. It's also, that's it right there. You can see that house across the street is wider on the westerly side than on the east. It's the inverse of this.
That one faces Gillette Avenue, right? Oh, up north of it.
Yeah, it does face Gillette Avenue, so it's really a secondary front yard for that house. Another reason that it may have been termed to 50. 50 foot is the standard requirement. It only says go to average if you can average, and if the average is higher than 50. But as you get past this lot, the houses are in Brookhaven. On the south side, those houses are less than 50. So if you took an average of the block, you're going to get a number that's under 50.
The reason it wasn't applied in 2012 is it probably wasn't applied for about 40 years. It's only recently that because of the measurement tool available on GIS, that zoning has decided to start applying it again. And obviously with the writing of the term of the block, it's always been something that was a bit obscure and hard to apply.
Terminology in zoning codes are often subject to interpretation and site-specific interpretation. I was counseled to the Babylon Zoning Board for a lot of years. I've counseled other ZBAs. I counseled the Patchogue Planning Board. Sometimes, no matter how straightforward we think we write it, we don't wind up that way. But it's the exact same distance from Middle Road as in the past. And to increase the distance, you'd have to move it to the east, but then you'd put it in the wetland buffer, which the DEC and the wetlands permit has said not to do. Or you have to move it further back, which is going to reduce the rear yard setback. So you're at a tight point on the lot. Remember, Gillette Avenue only has 80.5 feet of width. You know, these setbacks are designed off residents' AAA lots. You're not going to see lots at that those dimensions.
So I think the question earlier, it's great that we addressed the front yard setback. The chairman's inquiry earlier was, why do we think that the zoning denial in 2012 said that this new lot, Lot 1, needed a width of lot relaxation? It seemed as if
Look, I have always had my disputes in terms of width of lot on corner parcels, but it is measured on both streets, Middle Road and on South Gillette, regardless of which street the house faces. On Middle Road, you have 393 feet. That's plenty of width. But when you measure on Gillette, you get 80. The town has historically measured off both. I have filed my quiet footnote agreement to that, but that is how the town has done it. So it was done that way in 2012. It's done that way here. I've been involved in other cases where it's been the same thing. So the frontage on Gillette is 80.53. That's the lot. And that is the exact same dimension as the 2012 approval. The only actually difference in terms of variances is really that cellar entrance, which if the board is going to deny, you know, that's up to the board's discretion. I asked my client about it. He didn't give me the authority to drop it, and he's not available now. The reason it's on that side of the house is because it's behind the garage, and the garage has no basement, so it's an area of the basement that would not get use. And the reason the garage is on the west side is because of the catch basins located in the road.
So can you help me out, Mr. Bell?
Hopefully I can.
Let's look at the grant in 2012. Can you tell?
The cellar entrance is different. It's a different house, but the setbacks are the same except for the cellar entrance. Yeah, it's a different house.
Is the footprint the same, or?
No, it's a different footprint.
But it still fits within the previous grant?
Yeah, the setback from Middle Road is the same. The setback to the,
What's not the same, other than the cellar entrance?
that's the only setback that's different. The 4 feet of cellar entrance.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Planning, do you have any comments?
But the setbacks are all the same, just the shape of the house is a little different?
The house, if you look on the map I handed up, it's that lot to the south, parcel 2. Right, and the decision talks about the 2 lots, and it created those lots. Yeah. You know, for the, since the, the town wetland permit required a conservation easement that was recorded. I'm going to turn in a copy. And here is a copy of the subdivision map, which is stamped by the county and a letter from the town showing the approval. That created the parcel. And the DEC permit. So it's really a reapplication. The only setback distance or the only distance that would affect any relief the board gave is the cellar entrance.
I think we're gonna take some,
Yeah, so sure.
anyone else would like to be heard in this application? Yeah, if you come up, please. Excuse me.
Good evening. My name is Mary Ellen Romano. My address is 15 South Gillette Avenue in Bayport. Sure, ROMANO.
And where are you, directly south of the premise?
That's correct.
So your property is one of the ones that was subdivided off?
Yes, and I would like to make a statement regarding that to give some clarification to what's going on here, if I could. Thank you. All right, so thank you for the opportunity to address you. I would like to say that I would like to state some of my objections to the developments of the land at 7 South Gillette. In preparing for this meeting, I learned that in 2012, a petition was made to the Board of Appeals to grant the easement of building codes which require a 50-foot front yard setback and a 40-foot rear yard. which are the requirements of AAA lots. The board did not approve unanimously on this revision. The vote was 3 in favor and 2 members opposed it. I specifically object to an easement on these issues and any revision which would allow encroachment on the wetlands. If the proposed plan was approved as is, that would mean that there would be only 25 feet between the new dwelling and my property line. Okay, now I'm hearing it's 21 feet, which means that I'd look out my window and I'd be able to reach out and touch someone.
I'm sorry, what was the distance between your window and the proposed structure?
Do you know that, Rob?
Our property,
Yeah,
our
Sir,
property.
if you could give us your name and address.
Sure.
I'm Mr. Robert Romano, 15 South Gillette Avenue.
Thank you.
When the lot was divided, the minimum setback side yard was 25. When the subdivision took place, it was reduced to 20 on my lot 2,
So your property is 20
feet
20 feet, I'm sorry.
to the house. From there, it's going to be 21 feet to my side yard. Now, that's the back of the structure and it's supposed to be 40 feet. Okay, the houses are way too close as far as I'm concerned. Now, there is codes, it's a AAA zone, 3 to 5 vote on the board, blah, blah, blah. It makes no difference to me. I read through the paperwork that Mr. Wexler had signed, stating that there's a great majority, there's a great majority
I
of,
was on the board back
that you were. There was a great majority of homes with substandard lots. I can't speak from authority whether that's true or false, because I don't know. However, I do know that there is nobody in my town that has a 21-foot backyard. That is impossible.
At least on Gillette Avenue.
Not on Gillette, not in the surrounding area. Most people in my neighborhood have pools in their backyard. The backyards are very, very large. Now to sandwich this house, and I have to tell you something else. The original plan had the house much further back towards the east. Okay, if you look at the first plot, I don't know what this man's talking about with setbacks.
They're both within the buildable lot as granted, except for the variance on the,
Yes, but the house was further to the east.
But they could, what our chairman is saying is that where they're proposing it now, they don't need our permission. They can build it.
Okay.
They're here for the cellar entrance.
that's.
But if you build within the building lot for the code.
Yes, but my question remains is, I'm in the construction industry, and we all have to, so I can speak with a little bit of authority. We all have rules and regulations, there are minimum setbacks and so on and so forth. And the word that was bandied about when I spoke with a representative from the town, a gentleman by the name of Alex, I don't know his last name, mentioned the word relief. Relief is only granted when there's no other options. The house can be changed in shape, it can be reduced in size. The house to the east and the house to the south are around 1,400 square feet, 1,800 square feet. This house that's proposed is 3,400 square feet. It's not in keeping with the surrounding homes. Yes, of course.
I just want to make sure I'm clear, so you're clear. If anybody in the board. I'm thinking that if they do away with the cellar.
It's expired. It's
Right. Right, so what we're saying is, the grant. Bigger, but they're not coming close of them selling.
Okay.
Well, if
Let her tell you what she has to tell you.
Okay. We bought our home in 2018, and what I think it's important for the board to know is that Mr. Masood, the person who's applying for these variances, owned the property that I now own, and he was the one who chose to subdivide the land. So therefore, if he has a lot, if he created a lot which was substandard, he owned the property at 15 South Gillette. He could have made that he could have asked to have that lot made bigger, but he didn't. And he held that lot in abeyance until he sold the property and moved. So he applied for the variance in 2013, I think. And he sold the property to someone else. We bought it from that owner. And so all told, like, he waited a very long time, over 7 years, until he was well out of the, this was not going to affect him. All right. So he knew the lot was substandard. He could have made it bigger. He didn't. Now he wants, well, because he owned the property on 15 South Gillette.
That doesn't make it any worse. So how could he grown his property?
No, what I'm saying is when he asked for the subdivision of the property that's proposed to be built on, he owned everything. So he could have asked for a larger subdivision. Yes, I would. Sure, I would. He could have taken more he could have made the lot wider.
However, we grant.
Right.
Okay, so you granted it.
2019 and not ask for anybody's permission.
Okay, well, the point is that he's going to build a very large structure on a substandard lot, and he's going to encroach into onto my property with this basement entrance. It's going to be on his property, but he's going to be on top of me now.
I'm just trying to find out. We can't read mine.
Sure.
You don't want any house there, or you
No.
want a smaller house?
I think a smaller house would be appropriate. That's not going to have a rear yard of 21 feet. I mean, I'm going to be very frank with you. I pay $22,000 in taxes. I don't live in Queens. I don't want to live in Queens. I don't want my neighborhood to start looking like Queens. And it definitely will affect the appearance of the neighborhood. It will drastically change the natural beauty. There will be consequences to the property value of my house because this thing is going to be next door to me. And it's a substandard lot. So, okay, they can build whatever they want, but I'm just asking that they build something reasonable and appropriate and not push it right up against the limit, push the limit. You know what the size of our lot is?
Same acreage, 1.2.
And my property also backs up to the wetlands, and my property is half in, it's a portion of it is in Blue Point, and a larger portion of it is in the town of Islip. Yes, that's right. That's right. So, yeah. Actually, it's very lovely. It's very lovely. There's a lot of wildlife there. It's really nice. But, I am very concerned about the impact on the neighborhood and what it's going to look like. And how it's going to, I don't know how it'll affect other people's property values, but I definitely can tell you it's going to affect mine. Because this house is going to be very close to mine. So that's what I would ask the board to consider if you're going to allow this to occur. So, thank you. Okay. Can my husband talk? Can he speak? Yeah.
Why not? Great. Okay. As I said, I'm in the construction industry, and I don't see why relief has to be granted when there are relief is only granted when there are no options. Like, as I mentioned, the structure can be reduced in size to give you a 40-foot setback. The home directly to the east, which granted is in Blue Point, has a 40-foot driveway. This one has a 50-foot setback, a 40-foot setback, as opposed to, can it go closer to the road to allow for more of a rear yard? If you're giving variances, can we just push it forward? I wouldn't object to that. I don't think anybody would object to that. No, I would not object to that. Well, the home to the east is 10 feet closer to the road. It's 40 feet, 40-foot setback. This is a 50-foot setback. But again, sir, I feel the size of the structure, the footprint should be decreased
let them conform with a AAA zone. If it's 40-foot backyard, let them put in a 40-foot backyard.
What's your house?
1800 ranch house. The one to the east, these are the two houses that border this new structure is about 1400 feet. Ranch house, one level. Okay? This thing is going to be 2 4. I don't even know what it looks like on the outside. I don't even know the height of the house. I have no idea. But what I am saying is the original footprint, if you looked at the original, the gentleman showed you, what do you call, a plot plan, and the house was much further back. It was actually past my house, but now he's not doing it that way. Can you put it back on the screen?
Well, no.
Go ahead.
Would, if they built what they originally were granted as
Right.
well, that'd be objective.
I want to see it again. That's what I'm asking you. That's a different layout, sir.
I'm
You-
reading the whole meeting as well, and I noticed that what we kind of felt with, that created the work that's on now.
That's right.
They report.
And-
Actually, this law is more buildable than worse. It's upland area, it's around upland areas. So your yield is, right? Am I reading that right? Right, but nonetheless, but his upland area, or Mr. Opal's upland is 136 square feet. You have to say, you said earlier that you are both at 1.2 acres, you're the same size lot.
Yes, sir.
So your lot is substantially.
He has less what?
Because he has a bigger buildable area. You're the one, you're sitting here railing against building a substandard lot. But your house is gonna lot more substandard.
I disagree with you. How do you say a thing like that?
You're on, you have 1.2 acre lot, right? Your buildable upland area out of the wetland, 23,000 square feet, 23,149 square feet. Mr. Phobos is 26,130.
So what are you telling me? You
I'm
can,
just saying that I find it interesting that you hear about substandard lots, substandard lots.
but excuse me, I have the proper setbacks. Look at my rear yard, how gigantic it is. My rear yard is like 150 feet deep. His rear yard's going to be 20 feet deep. I'm losing what you're saying to me. I understand about the upland and the wetlands and the whole 9 yards. However, I'm set back far from the street. I'm about 60 or 80 feet from the street.
You don't like the organization. Is your yard, adjacent or particular.
No, I don't care for that. No.
Whereas if he was flipping it around, everything's.
However, what I mentioned to you earlier is the original drawing was a lot more acceptable to me. And I'd like to know if you can put it back on the screen so we could look at it together. That's the new one. That's the other one. Okay, so my house is there and his house is past mine, behind it, backwards, back that way. No, it's not. I have here.
House up here. This is the newer area.
But we only have a 21-foot backyard. I mean, still, that doesn't change. No, it's 40 feet because my side yard is 20 feet. What?
Yeah, the north one.
What's 40.3? But your paper just said I have a 20-foot side yard. Oh, so I'm how many feet?
61. If they built this.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it looks like this back door looks into the back, not like.
In that iteration, he's not looking into my house. In the other one, he is looking into my house. Yeah.
Now he's looking even less into your house.
Okay.
Be careful what you wish.
Okay. So you're done. Is that what you're telling me? This is a done deal? Is that what you're saying, sir?
Nobody voted on anything.
Okay.
Anything else, sir?
Well, what recourse do I have if I disagree with your findings, if I disagree with your verdict? Okay, all right, that's what I'll have to do then. Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
I don't think there's much to say at this point. I think the statements by the board and planning really hit the nails that I was going to bring up.
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
We're gonna take 60 days to make.
He doesn't want to.
The record's closed.
Will wants me to.
Yeah, well, if you give,
We have your information.
we'll send you a copy.
Okay, and that time.
Whatever you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good luck.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. Good. Guys, got it. What? You'll have to ask me.
The couple in the back.
The one in the back. You, the couple in front of. They must be. It wouldn't bring a woman to the attorney.
Good evening. No wetlands, no wetlands. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board, Ms. Pizarro, Ms. Light.
Hold on,
Oh,
hold
sorry,
on.
sorry.
Application number 193-23, KMM Property Solutions, Inc., permission to erect two-story dwelling on lot having area of 9,066 square feet instead of required 11,250 square feet, leaving floor area ratio of 30.76% instead of permitted 25%, to maintain 57.7 cubic yards of surplus fill within floodplain, and to install driveway having slope of 10% instead of permitted 8%. Residence A District, west side of Bayview Avenue, 93.7 feet north of Harriet Road, Bayport. And I understand we have a correction to make in the requested floor area.
Yes,
ratio.
the FAR has been reduced to 30% from 30.76%. I remember hearing at the last hearing that that was an issue for the board and we wanted to make it conforming. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board, Ms. Pissarro, Ms. Ryan, Ms. Light, ZBA team. My name is Janice Whalen. My office is at 23 Green Street, Huntington, New York. This evening, I represent the applicant, and accompanying me are Mr. James McGuigan, who is president, Mr. James McGuigan, McGuigan. He's effectively the owner of the property, and Ms. Parento, who has worked tirelessly with the engineering department to bring the application we have before you this evening. We reduced, revised, and hopefully improved our application, requesting variances for lot area, FAR, which conforms to the neighborhood, to bring in 57.7 cubic yards of fill, and I'll explain that reason why, and to install a driveway with a very small 16 square foot area that has a slope that exceeds the maximum permitted 8%. And the only area that's permitted slope is that.
We just opened it.
Can I bring this up to you?
Yeah, sure, all right.
My apologies. This is the only
Well, that was
area.
you.
Obviously yours. That's the only part of this application that exceeds.
How many feet is
That's on
that?
the north side.
16, it's actually on the south side. It's on, well, it's on eastern side of the property, it's the front yard, the eastern southerly eastern portion. It's going to be imperceptible.
So that's Bayview coming up here?
Bayview is, here. This is the. With regard to the lot area, this lot was created in 1930. It measures about 9,200 square feet. It really conforms to how Bayview Avenue was developed in accordance with that filed map. What I did was I copied the ISO map. I wanted you to see. I don't think that the numbers on the town website are correct, because those are a little bit less than what I figured. The website says that these lots are about 87. But I know that they're closer to 92. But you could see from the zoning map that all of these properties are consistent. What the residency requires. Don't hold me to it, but I think the zoning code was amended in 1997 to upsize properties. This lot was created in 19.
You saying that this?
I believe so. Another issue that was raised, and I sent letters to every one of the neighbors, telling them that we revised our application, giving them, my contact information, because I wanted to hear from them. And I wanted to assure them that this project's been engineered so well that we're even capturing lawn water. This is going to be the most sophisticated drainage system on Bayview Avenue. We're going to be, there's not going to be any runoff. Certainly, if there was, if we were under drained, we would have heard this from engineering, who I really want to thank so much for working with us so closely. I don't want to speak for them, but they looked at the application and they did not cite anything other than what's before you right now. We have a letter in support from the neighbor, from one of the neighbors. There's really not a lot I could say. We believe the neighborhood was developed in accordance with the filed map. The site is vacant, it's blighted, it's a dumping ground. I hope that you see the rendering. We hope, we really believe that this is going to improve the streetscape on Bayview. Reason why we need the 57 cubic yards of fill is because the drainage system and the sanitary system has to be above the water level. So we've got to bring in a little bit more. We've seen slopes in the vicinity which greatly exceed the little slope we're creating in that 16 square foot area. We believe that this proposal fully fits within the nature and character of the neighborhood. We're not only going to not create an adverse environmental impact, I believe we're going to improve the environmental impact to this neighborhood. The variances are not substantial. In terms of self-created, well, the lot area was created before we bought it. We only bought it 2 years ago. It was created in 1930. Could we say, we believe that this is the best feasible alternative to develop this property? And just so you know, if we had a full-size lot, 11,250 square feet, we would be at 24% FAR. We would be lower than any other house in this vicinity. I know that there's some neighbors here. I would ask that I be given an opportunity to respond after they speak, and thank you for listening.
Buying the house.
Are they gonna be towering over the neighbors?
No.
No height variance.
Whatever we do will be subject to.
Right. Engineering will still review the site, still make sure everything's up to any codes other than what they're requesting here.
What happens when there's
If it's against any of their codes, they have to keep re-engineering it until it's against, because they're just asking for like this, but there's other issues. They'll either need to come back here or they'll just need to redo it for engineering
So if
up to their
engineering says
standards.
thumbs down, sometime until they.
Right, until they fix their issues. And like Ms. Whalen said, there is a subdivision just north of this property. They're all 89,000, 9,000 square properties, so all within the.
If I could just add, Mr. McGuigan is building this house for his daughter. It's not like it's a house that, he's not invested in this neighborhood. He's a lifelong 50-year Islip Town resident and would love for his daughter and her family to live there. It's a very modest house. It's only 2,900 square feet. Again, FAR is only 30%. It's only 3 bedrooms, and we require no setbacks, no height, just the variances that are before you. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Michael Placenti, homeowner of 235 Edgewater, the house directly south of the property.
Could you just spell your last name, please?
Placente. Other than excuse me? South, the White House directly behind the lot. Well, it looks like, I guess, 235. No, behind it. Right, yeah, Edgewater, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, other than the sheer size, we're talking of a 29,000 square foot home on a small lot. 2,900, I apologize. Yeah. Mine is 27, so going back to the whole Queens issue in regards to size, the issue I have is environmental. Presently, the runoff from that property, when we do have rain, pools in my backyard. You're going to change the elevation of the property, lifting everything, so it's only going to increase the amount of water that will pool in my backyard. And also, too, is the concern of potential cesspool or wastewater in my yard. Is there any guarantees that I would not be exposed to cesspool water? I apologize. So, as I'll repeat, presently right now, when it rains, water from that property pools in my backyard. We're going to change the elevation and raise it, correct? So it'll only increase the amount of water that would now pool in my backyard. In addition to that is the cesspool. Will I be exposed to water from the cesspool in my yard? And if so,
Cesspool's about as far from your property as you can get.
I understand that, but right now I have runoff.
Whatever we do, we're not engineering. They'll have to do the engineering department. Yeah, we're all actually with 5 lawyers. So they have engineers, municipal, that study this.
Correct.
And they'll have to meet their.
But if that condition was presented, who would be liable for it? I'm just saying, would it be the town because they approved it? Or would it be the homeowner?
You're also asking us for a hypothetical. We don't know this.
I know, I understand that. I'm just.
We don't
that's what
do
we're
a
here for.
hypothetical.
I understand. Thank you.
There are about 6 legal issues in that one question.
I thank you for that.
Frankly, I really don't know. There's too many hypotheticals. We'd like to answer, but we couldn't. I mean, if town engineers study this stuff, they're not going to approve it unless it meets.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Donna Placenti. Michael's wife. I live at 235 Edgewater Avenue. I'm concerned because it's a big house for the size property it's on. I just feel like it's a known flood zone and there's little kids on either side of the house, and it does flood. And it's something should be built there. It'd be nice to have something built there, but why does it have to be so big? Mhm.
We allow up to 30% input area ratio. They're coming in 30%. Couldn't deny them side.
Right, okay, but it's also very high. It's very tall. Yeah, okay.
30 feet, 29 and change. It's 30 feet with 35 is.
So it's 5 feet of extra space.
Okay, but the houses on that block aren't really that big. It's gonna look. But like going back to the flushing thing, it's gonna feel like it's, really big, so.
Meeting the code. You can tell that
Okay. Okay, I just thought, aesthetics was important too. That's, okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
If I could just address one thing.
Let's let everybody.
Okay.
speak first. Anyone else like to be heard in this application?
But you understand that they're building within the code, height, size. You can't tell them no.
Okay, I didn't even pose a question to that yet, so. Yes, I'm Michael Sheehan, I live at 192 Bayview Avenue, which is right on the north side of them,
Could you just spell your last name, please?
Sheehan.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm actually addressing, because I don't see it in here anymore, but they did have the artificial slope of 14.6%, which was actually going to be running, the far majority of the slope is going to be running to the north side, which is going to be right on my property.
Took that out.
So is that not happening? I don't know.
Reduced it
To-
to 10%, only for 16 square feet.
No, you only did the
Oh,
10% to the
no.
driveway.
Sorry.
Can I answer the
Please.
question?
Please.
Jacqueline Peranto, Key Civil Engineering. I'm the site engineer on the project. 664 Blue Point Road, Unit B, Holtzville, New York.
Could you just spell the last name, please?
Peranteau. You're welcome. That has been eliminated. He's speaking about the slopes in the lawn area. Everything is a 5% max slope in the lawn. The slope that it meets code, that's correct. The variance we're seeking is for the driveway, where 8% is max. We have a 16 square foot area that is 10%. And it's a small little area on the side, like a gutter, about 2 feet wide off the side of the lawn. It ends up being more like 2 by 9 or 2 by 8. Yeah,
That's the part, everything else in the driveway complies,
correct.
except for a 2 feet by 9.
Correct. It's actually hatched here and it's in pink. If you want to look at this exhibit, you can see it.
It's the area that I highlighted.
That's,
That's required to
None
variance.
of this is getting on the, folks, none of this, guys, none of this on the record. You're having like this private conversation.
I'm just trying to
I'm just
explain it to
trying-
him.
yeah.
I got it.
Let's step one at a time.
Okay.
Made her point, yes.
And also they were going to build the retaining walls. I don't know if those got wiped out of the plan too.
It's not in the,
So it's not there anymore either.
Complies.
Okay.
It's not that it's not there, but there is.
it doesn't.
There's a compliant 18-inch wall.
North, front, and south property sides.
So-
Keep the additional soil in place. They fully comply.
So there would be like an 18-inch wall then right up against my property. I don't know. I'm on the north.
You're
Yeah.
193.
Folks, please address.
192 Bayview. I'm just trying to figure out their plans because I haven't seen them. So. Mhm.
Address us. Because you have it, like,
Oh, well, I apologize. They were just asking me questions. Well, I'd like an answer to that question, if that retaining wall was up against my property.
Retaining wall was on the property. Fully compliant.
come up.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm just not clear exactly which property he owns. Is it the one to the north of us?
This is it right here. Yeah, that's mine.
Oh, okay. Okay, so there will be a 18-inch high retaining wall on the property line adjacent to his property. I actually went around and took pictures of the neighborhood and I put together a packet for the character. So, yes, it does.
You couldn't tell them not to build it even if we wanted.
Correct. It's not in the purview of this board. It's an as of right retaining wall.
That was really the major concerns that I had, mainly because of the drainage. And, I just don't know where that water is gonna go. If they're up there, it's gotta go somewhere. And typically gravity makes it go down through. Is it gonna go onto my property? Is it gonna go down onto their property? Yeah.
The grading and drainage plan is designed to provide a perforated pipe along the edges of the retaining wall. So all of the water that would be sheeted at a max 5% slope of the lawn would go into a swale that would then receive a perforated pipe and stone. And that has been reviewed by the engineering department. There's 20% additional capacity in our drainage system as well. You're welcome.
Okay. And really lastly, I mean, the only thing I'd ask is that the property be maintained until this happens. Because there's overgrowth that goes into my property, there's dead trees that have fell in my property with the storms. And, well, doesn't ISO, does ISO town handle it? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Enforcement. All good. Hey, I don't know, so.
You need to get you a car to go out there and do that.
That's fine, that's perfect, you know?
An orange
I got
hat.
the chainsaw, so don't worry about it. Okay,
Flashlight.
so, okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard?
Hello, Dan Tonsetic, 193 Bayview. I am, sure, TONSETIC. It was addressed a lot, but just my concern would be I know they claim it's very small. I'm not an engineer. I can't speak to that, but you guys have town engineers that will come by and look, I assume, right? I'm concerned about the potential runoff, just because the sewer in front of my house, every year, like me and the guys at DPW are like this, because every year they come, because there's a sinkhole. So the stress on the system is real. Any extra, I don't know how much it's going to take before that sinkhole. There actually have been years where the street itself has just literally caved away and they've had to fill. So that's my major concern. Now, just some questions about the lot size. 9,000 versus 11,000. They would need 24% more property than what they currently have to fit into code for the type of house they want. Two-story dwelling. That's, I mean, literally you cut it in four and you have to add that to it. And then they want to go 30% floor area ratio on top of that when 25 is permitted. Now, maybe I misunderstood at the last meeting. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mr. Ellen, can you tell your people to quiet down? We can't hear.
Just one at a time. Peter, as far as the lot size, that performance with
Yeah, there's a bunch of lots that are to the north that are of similar size, if not smaller size, and there are 3 grants in the area for 30%.
Okay, so it would not be out of place.
It would be, it's gonna look like it belongs, the nature. and-
Okay, all right, that's, now, again, no disrespect, like, I did get the letter from the lawyer, but, she's getting paid to get a job done, and
We're all getting paid to get a job.
so, that was my concern. Now, at the end of the last meeting, a comment was passed that we were lucky to live next door to the empty lot for so long. And I just want to say, like, I probably don't remember, but August 2020, I believe it was August 2020, they were out looking at the lot. I went out there and spoke to them. I spoke mostly to the daughter. She seems lovely. We have no problem. Everybody who I've spoken to has no problem with the house going there. The concern is, like I said, I just laid out the numbers. You would need a 25%.
We addressed those numbers, correct?
What?
We addressed those numbers as far as the lot size and the.
Yes. What I'm saying is that's the cause, that was the cause for concern. If you guys do this much more than I do. I teach math, so I know the 24%, but that's it. So, I mean, if everything else is fine according to that, especially with the engineer report and the runoff, I don't see any problem moving forward. So, thank you.
Anybody else like to be heard in this application? Ms. Whalen? would you like to-
Very quickly, I so appreciate the neighbors' concerns. Nobody wants to, have a situation made worse. But again, I believe that this property is going to be the best engineered property on this block. It's going to have the most sophisticated drainage and sanitary system. And, you know, if engineering has any concerns, we have addressed all of them and will continue to do so.
Can either you or Ms. Parento address the concerns from the neighbors on Edgewater?
Well, I thought their concern, okay. Yes.
So similar to the north property line, on the western property line, we also have a drainage swale with a perf pipe. There is no retaining wall necessary there, as we're able to meet the existing grade and we're able to provide the swale. There's also a drainage system in the rear of the property with leaching galleys that'll be installed. I think the other concern was about sanitary. The new sanitary system is located in the front yard, and it's fully compliant with Suffolk County Health Department. In fact, our only comment from the Health Department is to provide a copy of our BZA approval, assuming we grant it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Any other
So we,
comments?
we have to just amend the call of the meeting to reflect that the request is 30% FAR.
Make a motion. To amend the call.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to grant the application as amended.
Subject to engineering approval.
Subject to all engineering and other town code approvals. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted as amended. Hey, what else you got?
Oh, boy, we got stuff. Not a lot.
We have the approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need for a month.
You don't need for a month.
Should be 2 months in.
When do we need
You
it?
love these meetings. You love them.
November 14th?
What's the matter? You get antique cars? Come on.
Okay, we have 12 accessory apartments to renew for a period of 3 years. We have a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and I've got some decisions to read in. The results of our fruitful
Guys, we're still in
recent
session.
meeting.
We're still in session.
We're still live.
Sorry, it's nice to see you talking. No, you all
You
can
you can
leave.
leave, but we're still working.
Okay, everybody have,
Give out some.
Scorecard.
oh, these, yes, let's give them some of these. These are,
Here.
this is a nice rendering.
I'm gonna leave the exhibits and I'm gonna take my board.
You can take the whole thing.
Take over.
Take the whole thing?
Ricky Green.
Thank you. My love.
Yeah. All right.
That one? Okay, so we have 5 applications to read in. All with permission to leave structures. Some get modified. Sorry. You're right.
Look over your shoulder.
Yeah.
Can you bring, do you need to have more? We're good, man.
I don't mind sharing.
Well, you gotta.
We're good.
Sharing is caring.
Application number 327-23, Arturo Gonzalez Florence, in accordance with a proposed written decision dated October 17, 2023. The application is denied as submitted with regard to floor area ratio, however, granted permission to maintain a floor area ratio not to exceed 34.7% and granted us the remainder of the application, with the board in no way granted driveway to approach onto neighboring property. On motion of
Motion. All in favor?
Aye.
application number 485-23, Michael Brush and Vanessa Gilberti. In accordance with a proposed written decision dated October 17, 2023, the application is granted. On motion of
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
application number 486-23, Robin Carlo and Channing Malasco. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated October 17, 2023, the application is denied as to the larger shed not having 20 feet front line of the dwelling and granted as a smaller shed having a side yard of 1.5 instead of required 2. On motion of
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
application number 487-23, Luis Barrientos and Angelica Maria Reyes. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated October 17, 2023, application is granted on condition that the roof over patio never be enclosed. On motion of
Motion. All in favor?
Aye.
application number 766-22, careful here, with last year's public hearing. Richard Santos Tejada. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated October 17, 2023, the application is granted as amended with garage height removed from consideration and requested front yard occupancy reduced to 42%. On motion of,
Motion. Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Carried by a vote of 3-0, Mr. Vitaliata and McCabe not voting on the basis of not having been members at the time of the public hearing.
How long have we been keeping that one over?
Yeah.
We want to do my job.
You guys,
Anytime,
you
Chris.
guys keep
Come on
kicking
in.
the can.
That's a wrap.
Wow.